today's game top of the league. It's a huge opportunity to extend that lead going into tomorrow's games. Of course, you have your Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool games to come, so they could definitely close the gap. But it's a great opportunity to go into the end of the Friday night having a hefty lead at the top of the league, and Ange Postecoglou would absolutely love that. But we know he's not the type of manager to get carried away. He's very calm in his press conferences and his pre and post match interviews, so he won't want to comment on it too much. And we're just seeing it back here. It's a scuff touch really from Schlupp that found its way through.
เพื่อนๆสวัสดีนะครับ
Positioning of Vicario has definitely helped him.
สวัสดีเด้อสวัสดีเด้อ
If Edouard goes to the other corner, it's almost a guaranteed goal. Of course, Vicario does have the most clean sheets in the league this season. He's got 4 clean sheets so far, and it's quite a surprise as to why they've started so shaky defensively as well, Tottenham, because they have been brilliant at the back so far.
Yeah, you have to say you got to give credit to Christian Romero because he does narrow down that angle, allowing Vicario to step over, and Edouard is forced to shoot into that corner because of the positioning of Christian Romero, but take nothing away from the Italian. So brilliant stop.
And Maddison's on the left-hand side, and they've got the opportunity. It's the cutback, and Heung-min Son needed it in front of him, and he's making the hand gesture to Maddison, who knows he could have done so much better there. It's Richarlison, a brilliant first-time pass. James Maddison's onside and needed to be quicker. He took a couple too many touches, and it was almost Ben Davies at the edge of the box getting on the end of it, but he needed to whip it in first time on his left. He took a couple touches. It was behind Son by then, well recovered by Jefferson Lerma, the man they brought in this summer as well. In the corner is dealt with, and Richarlison's hounded at the corner flag, and it is just about cleared from Crystal Palace. But I mean, like I said, James Maddison, if he'd have put that in first time, Heung-min Son would have had a tap in.
Yeah, it was poor control from James Maddison. He just couldn't.
ครับเพื่อนๆสวัสดีนะครับ
So at no point was there an opportunity to fizz the ball across to Heung-min Son. Instead, he was forced to take extra touches so that he had it on his left foot comfortably, was able to just get some sort of ball into the penalty area. We're going to have a stoppage in play as Will Hughes has brought down Mickey van der Ven. It's a sore one on the back of the ankle. Will Hughes knew straight away that it wasn't a good challenge. He was just reaching for the ball. He got it late. It's right on the back of Mickey van der Ven's Achilles. It'll be a
มาอีกแล้ว
to say the least for the Dutchman, but he's back on his feet.
ว่าจะโดนอีกแล้วครับสเปอร์
It's early on in the game, but I think he can count himself quite lucky that he's not found himself in the book there, because he's nowhere near the ball at all. Of course, you can tell it's an accidental one at that, so you feel for him if he did get booked in that sense, but it is quite cynical from Will Hughes.
นะครับเพื่อนๆพี่ๆนะครับสวัสดีนะครับ
Crystal Palace do look like they are setting up in a 4-4-2 almost, because when Tottenham are on the ball, it's almost like Will Hughes is kind of stood up front with Edouard, with your 2 other central midfielders and Schlupp and Jordan Ayew almost as deep wingers. So I think that's obviously something Roy Hodgson's side will have worked on in training going into this game. And then on the ball, they go into a 4-3-3 as expected, but there's a header, and Ben Davies has done well to keep it alive, and Richarlison's going to wriggle into the penalty area, but it's a good tackle from Chekakore, vital tackle on Richarlison. He looks to find himself a bit of space in the Brazilian Spurs.
ตอนทมินก็โหดชิบหายนะเพื่อนๆพี่
Jordan Ayew. We are 11 minutes into this game at Selhurst Park. It is still 0-0 at the moment. 2 big opportunities. The first one for Jordan Ayew and the second one for Edouard, both well saved in the end from Vicario, who, I mean, I was commentating on the game on the first game of the season for Vicario's debut, where they drew 2-2 to Brentford, and I thought he looked shaky, and I thought he'd be one of them goalkeepers that comes from another league, from another country, and he really struggles. But since that game, he seems to have come on leaps and bounds, and you saw the stat for itself, the most clean sheets in the league, and sometimes you can say, well, that's a credit to his defence. However, he's made some huge saves this season.
Yeah, I think it comes from consistency of the back 4 in front of you as well. I mean, we look at Andrea Onana, who was bought for an awful lot more money from the same league, Serie A, and
เรามาดูกันนะเพื่อนๆว่าสเปอร์แม่ง
so many different fullbacks playing in
ใจ
front
นี่
of
ไหม
him, whereas
มันจะชนะอีกไหมวันเนี้ย
consistently had Pedro Porro, Destiny
ถ้าชนะอีกนะแม่งโคตรโหดเลยเพื่อนสเปอร์
Obviously, Noah Dogie today, he's replaced by Ben Davies, but he has had the same centre backs in front of him every single game, and he knows
อเลสตัวเต็มที่เว้ยวันนี้อายุโอ้โห
so he knows how to prepare for saves. As we saw earlier, he knew Romero was going to cover the angle into the far corner, so Vicario could step across to cover the near post as well. So it's understandable how quickly he settled in.
Yeah, Jordan Ayew puts the ball into the box, and it's well taken by the man that we've been chatting about just then. Vicario is well held onto it. I mean, just a little bit too high from Jordan Ayew. Once again, he finds himself in a decent position on that right-hand side, and he almost just rushed the cross, and Edouard's never really going to get anywhere near on the end of that. He's not the biggest of strikers, but he is Crystal Palace's top goal scorer in the Premier League so far this season. He's got 4 goals, which is, I mean, a decent return for a side who do find themselves in 11th place. They're on 12 points, and they've not exactly
เลดก็ตัวค่อนข้างที่โอเคนะเกรด C บวกเกรด B แต่ไม่ถึง B บวกนะครับ
Premier League came on the 3rd of September in a 3-2 win at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers. So it's been a while since the Selhurst Park faithful have seen 3 points in a victory here, something to shout about, whereas the side have started pretty well in this game. I think it's been even at times in terms of on the ball, and that's a clear push from Kulusevski, a little bit too eager to get onto that ball, and he disagrees with the refereeing decision as he just wipes out Jeff there, who's almost bought the foul, and Crystal Palace can regain possession.
Yeah, I think he knows what he's doing there.
ยิวเปิดโอ้โหวิคาริโออีกแล้วแม่งเหนียวนะเพื่อนในตัวเนี้ยตัวนี้เหนียวจัดเลยเนี่ยโอ้โหแม่งใครแม่งไปซื้อมาวะแม่งตาโคตรดีเลยปรับตัวได้แล้วโคตรเหนียวฝากเพื่อนๆนะครับใครที่เพิ่งเข้ามานะครับฝากกดไลค์กดแชร์ให้ด้วยนะเพื่อนๆพี่ๆนะครับก็ฝากกดไลค์กดแชร์แล้วก็
It's a three of Lerma, Decore and Will Hughes, all of which are relatively defensive players as Spurs bring the ball forward here.
And it's James Maddison from about 25 yards out. He's been taken to the ground, and this time it is going to be a free kick to Tottenham. Maddison finally wins that free kick. He went down earlier and the referee waved it away, but he is staying down here and he's rolling about and he's looks in a little bit of discomfort here. It was Joel Ward who looked to close him down pretty central.
ไปให้เต็มที่เว้ยนี่มีคู่อื่นเตะอีกปะเนี่ยคุณเดซิก้าผมพุ่มนำมา0-5-1
I'm sure he'll be up soon because he'll be eyeing up this free kick.
Yeah, he will be. I mean, it's a rough challenge from Joel Wood. He does catch him on the back of the Achilles, similar to Will Hughes up against Mickey van der Ven earlier. But you can normally tell if a player does do some rolling, they're normally okay.
ให้เต็มที่ครับเพื่อนๆพาเลท13 นาทีผ่านไปนะครับยังสูสีนะคู่นี้อัตราการครองบอลนี่สเปอร์ครองบอล 68% นะครับซันพาเลทแค่32แต่โอกาสยิงของซันพาเลท2 ครั้งเข้ากรอบ2 ครั้งเลยนะสเปอร์ยังไม่มีโอกาสยิงเลยนะเพื่อนรอยฮอตสันนี่แม่งอายุเท่าไหร่อายุ76 ปีแล้วเพื่อนรอยฮอตสันอ่ะยังคุมทีมอยู่เลยแม็กนิสันเนี่ยสเปอร์เนี่ยมันได้ตัวนี้มาคือแบบได้แม็กนิสันมาคือมันเหมือนครบเลยอ่ะเพื่อนมันครบเครื่องไปหมดเลยอ่ะได้แม็กนิสันมา
is Bissouma to take that one. He's gone for laces almost, and from distance, that's always going to be a difficult technique. I think you've got to wrap your foot around it and look to curl it across over the wall, and he's gone for laces and he's gone miles over, and it's an absolute waste of a free kick for Tottenham.
I do think that'll be the first time Bissouma does take a free kick off of James Maddison, because I think he's really let his side down there. It's not far enough out to hit with his laces. It was a 4-man wall. If there's anything more than a 2 or 3-man wall, you're not in a position to strike it with your laces. You just have to try and go for placement.
มาดิสันหายเว้ยหายแล้วมาดิสัน
Always going to struggle to get the right placement on it.
โอ้โหแล้วมุมนี้แม่งยิงได้ด้วยอ่ะเพื่อน
Strange decision from Bissouma, and I think Maddison will certainly be on the next one, the next opportunity they get.
Yeah, of course, and it's Tottenham on the ball at the back now, and they'll be wanting
มุมนี้แม็กนิสันแม่งยิงได้สบายแล้ว
Last season, they came away from here last season with a 4-0 victory, which I mean it was a fantastic result.
จะยิงไหมแมนิสันโหแต่ผมว่ายิงนะแมนิสันเป็นคนที่เป่ายิงเก่งมากๆนะเพื่อนโอ้บิซูมาไม่ให้แมนิสันวะก็โธ่ไปแย่งแมนิสันยิงอีก
with a company of Ayew, but it's well recovered by Bissouma to win the ball back for Tottenham now, and it's going to be Pedro Porro playing that inverted fullback role. He goes out wide to Kulusevski. It's a heavy first touch, but he's going to get that ball. Richarlison does get it and keep it alive, and Maddison slices his effort. It was only about 8-9 yards out. It's from a little bit of an angle, and he's gone on the half volley. We're just going to see it again. Kulusevski, it was a nice ball into the back post, and Richarlison did really well to keep it alive and find Maddison.
ที่ซัมเบเลตมาแล้วโดนแย่งไปพี่ชาลิซอนยังได้อยู่วันนี้ลิซาลิซอนอาจจะไปเล่นปีกซ้ายนะเพื่อนลิซาลิซอนไปเล่นปีกซ้าย
Yeah, it's not a great effort from James Maddison, but credit to Wacky Maddison for sprinting and covering off the goal very quickly. He comes out, makes himself big. He's straight into Maddison's face and forces him to take that shot first time rather than bringing it down, and it means that Maddison skews it into the air.
And it's a chance for Crystal Palace down the right side, but it's brilliant covering, defending from Christian Romero, who hammers it into his own.
โอ้โหดูดิครับเชี่ยแม่งผิวจัด
The Tottenham fans absolutely love Christian Romero. He's
แม่งปาบซากับบิซูมานี่เล่นเข้าขาที่บ่ายนะเพื่อนบิ๊กฟิลด์เนี่ยอ๋อครับคูรูเซฟกี้คูรูเปิดเข้าไปลิชัยตันมงเข้าแล้วโอ้โหเจมส์ดิสันทำคาน successful team and stuff like that, you've got to cut it out, and so far they're doing it. Whereas last season you'd have almost
put all your money on Cristiano Romero getting into the box, but Chris
เนี่ยก็กดบอลเล่โอ้โหแม่งข้ามทางไปหน่อยลืมนะเพื่อนๆคนที่เพิ่งเข้ามานะครับฝากกด Subscribe ฝากกดติดตามให้หน่อย
will be wanting from his forwards to help out that midfield, help out them fullbacks wherever you can, because it's going to be intense from this Spurs side. They're always shifting the ball from left to right. They've always got options. As soon as they lose the ball, they're pressing to win it back. It's one of them sides that you really hate playing against at the moment this season, Tottenham, and you wouldn't usually familiarise them with that saying. Whereas, I mean, the impact, I keep mentioning it, of Ange Postecoglou has been fantastic so far. Of course, he had a brilliant time at Celtic as well, and I mean it's come to some shocks as well how well he is actually doing with Tottenham. No one really expected them to be top of the league, especially after
โอ้ยพาเลตเอาไว้เต็มที่
the record goal scorer
พาเลต
Kane. However,
โอ้โหอายิวไม่ได้ครับอลิชัยซอนจะสวนอ้าวบอลมาเข้าทางคิดตันพาเลต
found his way
เป็น
into
อา
the
ยิว
striker role with Richarlison on the left-hand side, and
โอ้โหเลยมาจ่ายไม่ดีอีกไอ้ห่าไปแล้วเพื่อนๆซอนเฮมินจะสวนซอนเฮมิน
always felt his play
ซอนเฮมินออกขวาไปแล้วคูรูเซฟกี้
Richarlison with a
คูรูเอาไงคูรูคืน
goal from the edge of the
คืน
box. Richarlison
ตับซา
is wide.
โอ้โหต้องคืนโรเมโรเลยครับไปเร็วไม่ได้
Once again, it's this left-hand side that's looking quite dangerous. It was a lovely nutmeg from
Van de Ven
Richarlison to find Maddison, the perfect
เจมส์นิสัน
well worth an effort, but it goes just wide of goal.
Yeah, I think a change needs to be made for Crystal
เจมส์
Palace.
นิสัน
Who's out there helping Joel Ward, because at the minute, Czech Decore and Jefferson Lerma are staying really quite narrow.
ซาโอ้โหซาเปิดไปติดอีกสวัสดีนะครับเพื่อนๆพี่ๆนะครับคนที่เพิ่งเข้ามานะครับฝากกด Subscribe ฝากกดติดตามให้ด้วยนะครับเพื่อนๆยิ่งเพื่อนๆกดไลค์หรือกดถูกใจเยอะนะครับมันพาไปเด้งหน้าฟีดของเพื่อนท่านอื่นนะครับก็รบกวนด้วยฝากกดถูกใจฝากกดไลค์ให้หน่อย
Struggling to contain those two at the minute. I don't think they were expecting Maddison to be playing as wide as he is currently, which means that they're not really prepared tactically to deal with that sort of overload for Joel Ward on that side.
Yeah, and I think Luke makes a good point in terms of we don't often see Maddison operating on either side. He often does play his football very centrally, even throughout the game. But I think that
เฮ้ย
maybe
สวย
is happening today.
เจมส์นิสันออกหูลิชัยซอนมีพื้นที่มีเวลายิงเลยโอ้โหไม่ตรงกรอบ โอ้โหลิชัยซอน
And I think Crystal Palace have really struggled to deal with that, but it's some brilliant skill on the left-hand side, but brilliant defending from Cristiano Romero once again recovering on the tackle to stop any form of Crystal Palace.
ดูเข้าขาดีนะเพื่อนแมนนิสันกับแมนนิสันกับลิชัยซอนเนี่ยเขาท่าอยู่
sliding change, and it's going to be a Tottenham throwing now. Roy Hodgson clapping his team on because the pressure is there at the moment. They are working really hard off the ball. They're stopping quick Tottenham counter-attacks, which we're so used to seeing them. Of course, they were devastated in that game recently at home to Fulham. Of course, that is a home game. More usually, they've got the fans behind them, so they are going to be a little bit more clinical, create some more chances rather than your London derbies like tonight on this.
เฮ้ยไม่ได้เว้ยเอาดับเบิลเลทก็ดูสู้ได้เหมือนกันไปยอมอะไรเดี๋ยวไปยอมเราต้องสู้ให้เต็มที่สวยมิเชลครับฉลุกเอาไงฉลุกวนอยู่เฮ้ยโอ้โหเสร็จโรเบโรนิดเดียวอูโลเซฟกี้
and Ben Davies going across, and I think that's why the danger has almost come from the wide areas so many times so far for Tottenham.
I think the hardest thing Crystal Palace have got tonight is because
ลุงลอยฮับสั้นโอ้โหแก่ชิบหายเลย
because you've got the likes of Pape Sarr and Ibasuma are going to stay narrow, they're going to stay central, and Maddison's floating all around. They're doing different things to what they usually would do. So it's despite the fact that they are a man light, without Destiny Udogie, one of their best players this season, not being on the field, it's almost made things harder.
อย่าลืมนะเพื่อนๆฝากกด Subscribe ฝากกดติดตามให้ด้วย
just probably won't have been as straightforward as it could have been because Tottenham have had to adjust to the fact that they're playing differently.
โอ้ยปอโด
tactical plays isn't on the pitch.
ตัวใหม่ๆเล่นดีหมดเลยนะเพื่อนทั้งปอโลทั้งไอ้แมนดิสันอย่างเงี้ยโอ้โหวิคาริโอเนี่ยตัวที่เด็ดเลยเป็นถือว่าเป็นหัวใจสำคัญเลยอะประตูเหนียวแม่งมีชัยไปกว่าครึ่งอ่ะเพื่อนไม่ใช่ตรงเป็นตรงอ่ะใช่ไหมไม่ใช่ว่าเลี้ยงเข้าไปแม่งโดนตรงเป็นตรงอ่ะ
just out for a goal kick, and Jordan Ayew can't keep it alive. But
โหดูบิซูมาแม่งพลิกดิโดนแล้วโดนแย่งแล้ว
We're going to see a replay here just in case there was any
ยิว
handballs.
โหยิวกูโดนลุมแล้วโอ้ยได้ฟาวเว้ย
The arm of Richarlison, but it is one of them. We've just seen it a little bit closer here. I mean, that'd be extremely harsh, Skip, because I think Richarlison, it's almost bounced off a player onto Richarlison. It hasn't been given, and it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it would have been incredibly harsh. Neither player really were outside the natural silhouette of a jumping footballer, so it makes sense that VAR check was quickly dismissed. But I can understand there were appeals. I don't mind them checking it just to double check that nothing out with the ordinary had happened in the penalty area.
And Mickey van der Ven on the ball now. He finds Yves Bissouma, who shifts it to the right hand side to Sam.
แล้วว่าเล็บมันจะเปิดเลยเหรอ
In a wide position, and I think it's when players like that, central midfielders, take up such unique positions, and the attack is on for Tottenham, and he's scuffed the cross. I'm not sure if he's won his side corner there. He hasn't. It's going to be a goal kick, and
เอาเฮียฮี
brilliant build up.
โอ้โหเปิดแรงไปหน่อยฮะ
Fantastic movement. And he's gone to cross the ball, and his standing foot, he's bounced off that, he's fallen over, and it's gone out for a goal kick, and not one that Sarr will want to watch back.
No, it's unfortunate for Pape Sarr.
นี่อะไรวะ
So well to get towards the byline, and he has completely miskicked it, which is not something you expect from a player playing in the team at the top of the table. But credit where credit's due, he did very well to get in that position. He's causing Palace problems. Him and James Maddison floating out wide.
กรรมการจะเช็ค VAR นะครับแต่ก็ไม่น่าจะมีอะไรผมว่า
Crystal Palace at the minute, and you know it's something that's going to have to be addressed by Roy Hodgson sooner rather than later.
Yeah, definitely. The header in behind goes straight through to Vicario. Halfway through the 24th minute, it's still 0-0 at Selhurst Park. Tottenham are knocking it
บิซูมา
about here. It's Christian Romero on the ball, and he goes to Mickey van der Ven, and I think for Ange Postecoglou,
Where they win ตัวนี้ก็ทีเด็ดเหมือนกันพี่ไอแวร์เดเว่นเนี่ยเอามาอีกแล้วครับปั๊บซาเปิดไอ้ห่าเอ้ยบอลปิ้นโอ้ยปิ้นแล้วแป๊กด้วยเอ้ยหลุดออกหลังไปเลยโอ้แม่งไม่โอ้โหเฮ็ดเข้ขาซ้ายแทงขาขวา
Goes to Odson Edward, but I'll pass you over to Luke for the rest of this half.
Thank you very much as Romero picks up the ball deep inside his own half, then pings it to James Maddison looking over the top for Heung-min Son. It's defended well by Crystal Palace, and they can just about get it clear through Tyreek Mitchell and Andre Ayew. Jordan Ayew, I should say.
ลืมนะเพื่อนๆฝากกดไลค์กดแชร์ให้หน่อยนะครับพี่ๆรบกวนด้วย
Once again through Richarlison on the left hand side. He looks
เอาเอดูอาร์ไม่ถึงเลย
Anderson, the former Fulham and Lyon man. Nice play from Will Hughes to try and find Ayew. In the end, can't quite get it under control, and he tries to keep hold of possession. Ends up kicking it straight to James Maddison, who's in a good crossing position.
สเปอร์ก็ไม่ได้เร่งที่จะเอาประตูสักเท่าไหร่นะไม่ได้เร่งแบบค่อยๆต่อเกมขึ้นไปเรื่อยๆมากกว่าเนี่ยครับบิซูมานี่แม่งผิดกับคนละคนเลยนะเพื่อนบิซูมาเนี่ยตอนมาปีแรกโหเล่นอะไรก็ไม่รู้บิซูมาไม่ค่อยได้ลงด้วยเอาปีนี้แม่งขั้นเทพเลยไปตั้นส่งประกวดเลยครับเอาอีกแล้วครับแมนดิสันไปแล้วแมนดิสันส่วนไม่ได้แต่มาเลยส่วนยากเพื่อนกองหน้าพาเลทแม่งช้าทั้งนั้นเลยมีทั้งเอดูอาร์แล้วก็อายิวเงี้ยช้าหมดเลยหัวไปก่อนโอ้โหเอามาฮิวแมนดิสันได้แล้วโอ้โหแมนดิสันจะไปไม่ได้โดนมงสกัดเอาก่อนบอลยังเข้าทางลิชาริซอนโอ้อายิวได้เว้ยอะไรวะวอร์ดเปิดก็ติดวิซูมาอีกไอเจมส์แมนดิสันแม็กนิสันเอายังไงแมนดิสันโอ้โหเยอะไม่มีใครอยู่เสาสองบอลยังเลยมาถึงโคลูเซฟกี้แล้วก็อยู่ที่ปาซาส่งซอนฮมินนี่ครับกับตันซอนของเราไปไม่ได้ก็ต้องคืนโรเมโรโอ้โหวันเดเว่นโอ้โหดิชัยซอนจับบอลออกไปเองอีก
since I've taken over from commentary on the 25th minute, it looks like Ben Davies is looking to try and step forward a little bit more, meaning that Joel Ward has got now 3 players to look after on that Palace right-hand side of Maddison, Richarlison and Ben Davies. It's causing Palace some serious problems as
เฮ้ยไปแล้วชุลุกโอ้โหไม่ถึงเอ้ยติดโรเมโรนิดเดียวเองอ่ะโอ้ย
lays it off to Maddison, ball over the top looking for the Swedish international, and that's a poor ball, and it'll go straight into the hands of Sam Johnston, the former West Bromwich Albion goalkeeper. And I have to say, as good as James Maddison has been on the ball at times tonight, I think his passing let him down a little bit. I mean, we're just seeing here that 72% possession from Tottenham compared to Palace's 28, but I think what's stopping that from being even higher for Tottenham is the fact that Maddison's passing has just been a little bit off tonight.
Yeah, and I think it's because he's one of the number 10 playmakers that always goes for the risky passes. He's always playing for high risk, high reward. And I mean, we know James Maddison, we know his ability. One of them passes will come off sometimes. He's always looking in behind for the runs of Heung-min Son, and you can't blame him because Son started this season like a house on fire. 7 goals already. Only the 1 assist for Heung-min Son, who, I mean, usually will have way more assists, but that's because he's operating up front. But I mean, he's been fantastic in front of goal, so you can understand why Maddison's always looking for them runs. And I mean, we are only 30 minutes into this game in the sense of we're starting to see Tottenham grow into it quality wise with a little bit more confidence going
โอ้ย
forward.
สเปอร์บุกใหญ่แล้วโอ้โถมันนี่สั้นจ่ายไม่ดี
James Maddison, I mean, he'll be trying plenty more as this game goes on, and I'm sure he'll find that killer pass.
Yeah, Spurs looking to try and bring it forward on the right-hand side.
เจฮีกับเอดิสันเล่นดีนะเพื่อนกองหลังของคริสตัลพาเลซอ่ะคุมได้ดีเลยทั้งมิเชลเดนนิวอร์ดเนี่ยยังปิดไม่ให้กองหน้าสเปอร์หรือว่ากองกลางสเปอร์เล่นได้ง่ายมากๆเลย
They'll be more than happy to go in at half-time. 0-0, still 15 minutes left until that happens as Sam Johnston launches the ball long, looking for Odson Edouard. He gets away from Christian Romero, but excellent recovery speed once again from Mickey van der Ven.
สวัสดีนะครับเพื่อนๆนะครับ10 กว่าคนนะครับเข้ามาแล้วฝากกดไลค์กดแชร์กดติดตามให้หน่อยนะครับเพื่อนๆขอสัก10-20 ไลค์นะเพื่อนๆพี่นะครับช่วยฝากกดไลค์ให้หน่อยนะฝากกดถูกใจให้หน่อย
Returns back to his feet. I think that's the first time we've really seen Edouard challenging with Romero, and he does shoulder into the chest. It's not quite in the face, but a physical challenge that Romero came second best, and I think that's something to keep an eye on in this game, because while Van der Ven has defended brilliantly with his recovery speed, that's Romero getting out, being bodied really by Odson Edouard, and it's something that Palace can maybe use to their advantage.
Yeah, and I quite like seeing that. We know that Christian Romero, he's an aggressive defender. He likes to get in the striker's face. He likes arguments, a bit of a pushing match at times, but I like it when you see a striker almost go toe-to-toe with them. And Odson Edouard, he seems like the type that's a bit of a quieter striker in terms of when they're getting into the heated debates during the games, but I like that he's almost... I mean, he could have definitely run onto it as well. I don't think Romero's positioning for that long ball over the top was actually the best. Edouard is a much faster footballer than Romero, and he would have got onto it in the end.
โรเมโรเป็นไรแล้ว
I don't mind him going through him a little bit like that because it shows him that he's there. Romero's had a decent start to this game, I feel. So, I mean, Edouard, I don't mind him going into him with a little bit harder than usual there.
Yeah, we've just seen Joel Ward have to tug back on.
โหเอดูอาร์ชนกระเด็นเลยเพื่อน
certainly be slower than attackers, barring Mickey van der Ven, who's shown on a number of occasions today. He is absolutely rapid in comparison to these Crystal Palace players as he's on the ball now just inside his own half, asking for some options in front of him. In the end, skips away from Odson Edouard with some brilliant skill and is brought down by the Frenchman, so it will be a free kick for the former Wolfsburg man. He's just gone down holding onto his leg, but I'm sure he will be okay to carry on. He was just asking for a bit of movement in front of him, didn't get it, tried to skip away from the Frenchman. It was caught. I mean, it's always going to happen when you try to skip away like that, particularly when a defender does that up against a striker. They won't like to be beaten with some nice footwork from a centre-back, as Van der Ven does look in some serious bit of discomfort. Potentially a clash of knees was what is causing him some discomfort at the minute, as I'm assuming the Tottenham Hotspur physios are, indeed they are.
นี่แม่งพาเลทเล่นดีนะไม่ได้ปล่อยให้สเปอร์มันเล่นง่ายๆเลยอ่ะจริงๆเพื่อนๆลืมนะครับเพื่อนๆฝากกด Subscribe ฝากกดถูกใจให้หน่อยนะครับเพื่อนๆขอสัก10 ไลค์ 20 ไลค์นะครับก็รบกวนด้วยนะครับฝากกดถูกใจให้หน่อยโรเมโร
as he goes to challenge him there. I mean, it's not a brilliant challenge from Edouard.
เนี่ยเพื่อนพาเลตอะไม่ปล่อยให้สเปอร์เล่นง่ายเลยอะ
As I mentioned earlier, with Vicario being so good and having the most clean sheets in the Premier League,
จะเข้าแดนของพาเลตนี่ก็ต้องมีตัดฟาวล์หรือว่าก็ต้องงัดกันอะ
have played every single game. If he has to come off and is injured for a period of time, that potentially ruins the confidence a little bit of the Spurs backline, who've been so assured in this season so far.
Yeah, and it's a huge worry. You look at the Tottenham bench as well, and there's only one natural centre half
ไอเจ็บอีกแล้วนะ
there, and it is Eric Dyer, who's not featured one competitive game this season so far. He played a couple of friendlies under
เป็นไรวะเจ็บหนักเลยเหรอ
I mean, for the 5th time, he's on the bench tonight, and I mean that'd be a huge ask to bring him on because Eric Dyer is quite clearly not in the plans of Postecoglou, and he's just
เหมือนจะเจ็บหนักเลยนะแวนเดอร์เวนนะครับแวนเดอร์เวนโอ้ยโดนเตะแต่ไม่รู้ว่าเหมือนจะเจ็บขาขวานะเพื่อนเหมือนจะโดนเตะโอ้โหเตะไป
other countries before and just struggled to almost keep up with the intensity of the Premier League, but I think he's been fantastic, and I think he suits this league to a T in terms of his pace, his power and his strength. And I mean, they don't look like they're readying a substitution for Tottenham, so fingers crossed he can continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he has returned back onto the pitch after receiving treatment on the sidelines, and Spurs have possession inside the Crystal Palace half with colours.
ปู่ลอยต้องจับมาที่ปู่ลอยดูแข็งแรงโคตรเลยอายุ76ปีแล้วเพื่อนเกิด2490อ่ะโอ้ทำอะไรอยู่อ่ะมาเป็นผู้จัดการทีมซัมพาเลตอะลีกชั้นนำของโลกอะความแก่ทำอะไรเขาไม่ได้จริงๆครับปู่ลอยเนี่ยวิธีการเล่นแบบโบราณเลยครับเล่นแบบรับหนึ่งเดียวแล้วรอสวนอะรับรอสวนอย่างเดียวลืมนะครับพี่ๆใครที่เพิ่งเข้ามาครั้งแรกนะครับฝากกดติดตามฝากกด Subscribe และกดกระดิ่งแจ้งเตือนไว้ด้วยนะครับพี่ๆว่าใครจะซัพพอร์ตนะครับเป็นเลขบัญชีที่อยู่ด้านล่างนะครับเป็นพร้อมเพย์โดเนทสนับสนุนกันมาโดยตรงได้เลยนะครับเพื่อนๆได้ทั้งเป็นพร้อมเพย์แล้วก็ทูวอลเล็ตนะครับหรือสแกน QR Code ที่ขึ้นอยู่ทางหน้าจอได้เลยนะครับขอบพระคุณมากเด้อหลายๆเลยไปไหมกูรู้
There's a number of Palace players up there, including the two centre backs, Gahey and Anderson, just Warden Mitchell and the goalkeeper Sam Johnson outside.
เอาแล้วจะสวนแล้วโอ้โถเอ้ยอายุเฮ้ยอายุนี่มันแน่นอนจริงๆเพื่อนไม่นี่ครองบอลกับมันนี่คือแย่งยากมากอะไม่ได้ครับอายุอายุโอ้โหโรเมโรมาสกัดไว้ทันโอ้ยวันเดเวสนะครับขออภัยนะครับโอ้โหสุดยอด
and to force him towards the sideline, but does well to find Pedro Porro on the right-hand side. Then back to Pape Matar inside to Basuma.
เอาไว้ได้ลูกเตะมุมครั้งแรกเพื่อน35 นาทีอ่ะมึงเตะมุมครั้งแรกอ่ะโอ้โหสุดยอดกันเวลา
Ball into the penalty area for Ben Davies, looking inside for Son and for Maddison, neither of which can get there. Good defending from Crystal Palace and into the hands of Sam Johnston. And while they are looking
เปิดแล้ว
they have defended overall, I think, really quite solidly, and I don't think Spurs have had a clear-cut opportunity in this game.
No, I mean, I look back to that Maddison half volley, and I know half volleys are so difficult in terms of the technique's got to be spot on. However, it fell to a player that I'd back with that technique in James Maddison. I do think that's the best opportunity so far, but Tottenham, they are just raking up the pressure in terms of they're getting at the fullbacks, they're almost beating them every time, but Gahey and Anderson, they're such a brilliant partnership that you've got to do something pretty special to get through them. I say that despite Newcastle putting forward past them, but Tottenham are on the break again.
Yeah, they're coming forward. Heung-min Son's found James Maddison, and brilliant defending from Jefferson Lerma denies the former Leicester man a clear attempt on goal. It was nice play from Heung-min Son and the centre midfield partnership of Pape Matar.
ต่อยากมากสเปอร์อะกลับไปถึงกรอบเขตโทษได้แล้วยังต้องวนมาตั้งเกมใหม่จังหวะเดียวสวยเดวิดเอ้าบอลยังเข้ามือสุดยอด
Excellent defending. He was caught a little bit out of position by the fact that Spurs brought it forward nicely, but it was defended well in the end. A good recovery run. We've spoken about Van de Ven covering the space quickly. Jefferson Lerma did the same thing there. Johnston plays the ball over the top from the free kick, looking for Jeffrey Schlupp. Defended well by Pedro Porro, and it'll be a corner on the left.
หมดแล้วครับ37 นาทีผ่านไปนะครับยังเหมือนเดิม
Sporting Lisbon man. It's a lovely ball over the top from Sam Johnston, looking for Jeffrey Schlupp, coming back from a thigh injury, replacing Jean-Philippe Mateta in the side today, and it was excellent. It was an excellent ball from the former West Brom.
ซอนได้แล้วมิสซันนิสันโอ้โห
For Crystal Palace, it'll be Will Hughes to take it with his left foot once again. This time it'll be an outswinger coming in from the left. Both Anderson and Gahey up again, along with Edouard and Lerma. Good ball in towards the box. This time it's a better ball deeper into the penalty area, and Spurs just about clear. But it's Decore on the edge of the penalty area going for goal, and well blocked by Tottenham once again. ดีนะมึงมีเลอมาช่วยไม่งั้นแม่งโดนยิงโดนมินิสันสอยแน่ For Jordan Ayew, squared up by Pedro Porro, keeps hold of the ball, does the Ghanaian, nice skill, plays it into the box, Edouard's waiting for it, can't quite bring it down, and Richarlison with the good defending allows the former Celtic man to get a turn and a clear shot on goal. Excellent defending by Richarlison, really nice play from Jordan Ayew.
ครับเตะมุมอีกแล้วเลยเตะมุมน่ากลัวนะเพื่อน
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Jordan Ayew actually. I was a little bit sceptical when you see him in the lineup because he does almost offer 50-50 performances. Some weeks he looks brilliant, some weeks he doesn't, but I think he's definitely been the bright spark so far for Crystal Palace. A lovely turn right on the byline to get the ball back in, and Odsonne Edouard, his first touch once again just let him down, but you think, I mean, he had the great opportunity earlier on, and it's a decent corner opportunity for the home side. Yeah, Will Hughes with another in-swinger on the right-hand side this time. Once again, it's further deep, looking for Anderson. Good punch, though, from Vicario, and I'm not quite sure if that was a pass or a shot from Ward on the half volley.
ไม่ได้
The penalty area, but either way, it's found its way to Odsonne Edouard. Dinks the ball and looking for Gay. Here, Will Hughes, and I think it's blocked by a Tottenham player as it spurns up into the air. Will Hughes doing well to keep a hold of it, and I think he's won his team a corner, and it would appear so as a Crystal Palace fan.
หรือชัยซอนแม่งหวดถ้วยไว้ทัน
Pictures independent off-tube studio commentary. There's 40 minutes on the clock in this game, so an extra 5 minutes plus probably a fair bit of added on time considering the injuries we've had for the likes of Van de Ven and Romero. This will be Crystal Palace's fourth corner in the game. Spurs yet
มันนิ่งดีนะเพื่อนไอยูเนี่ยโอ้โหแม่งจับบอลไม่ดี
deep into the penalty area, laid off to Joel Ward on the edge of the box and on his weak left foot. I think it leaves a lot to be desired there from the Crystal Palace captain.
Yeah, I mean, it's an absolutely terrible effort. I mean, we've seen quite a few efforts like that today so far. It's actually taken a deflection. It's going to be a corner for Crystal Palace. I mean, I certainly didn't notice the deflection at the time. I mean, I was about to absolutely lay into Ward there for hitting that on his weaker foot and it going miles over the bar. But Will Hughes is going out to take it. But this has been a brilliant
ครับเอรูอาร์ได้บอล
from Crystal Palace and
เอรูอาร์เปิดเข้าไปหม่งได้ไหมโอ้โหไม่ได้ครับยังได้อยู่หิวได้เตะมุมอีก
Anderson gets his head on it, and this time it's comfortably high and wide from the Danish international. But a lovely ball in from Will Hughes, and certainly corners are causing Tottenham some promises in this game. It's not a bad header. Excuse me. From Anderson at all, but in the end, comfortable for Vicario.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a brilliant spell of possession as well, and a brilliant spell from Crystal Palace in general. The problems these last few minutes, I mean, they've been brilliant. A really poor touch there from Richarlison, sees it go out for a throw, and as Crystal Palace will look to take it quickly again down the right-hand side. But I've been really impressed with, I think, as soon as I passed over to Luke to lead the commentary, that's when Tottenham really started to build up the pressure. They were looking intense going forward, but the response from Roy Hodgson's side since then, I think has been spot on, and they're putting Tottenham
ไอ้ห่าแม่งเตะมุม 3-4 ครั้งติดเลยว่ะเพื่อนดูเตะมุม5 ครั้งต่อ 0 ครั้งอ่ะ
First time in a long time, of course, had that huge injury, and he's a big boost to have back, but he'll certainly have to work his way back into the lineup because Sarr and Bissouma have had excellent seasons so far, and Højbjerg, whenever he's had to come in, has looked good as well. But I think Crystal Palace coming to the end of this half, we're halfway through the 42nd minute and it is still 0-0. They can be really happy with how they played this first half, I think.
Yeah, I think Roy Hodgson will be absolutely delighted with the way that Crystal Palace have played in this first half. Ange Postecoglou probably a little bit less so. The James Maddison half volley, really the only half, despite only having 22% possession. I think realistically, Palace have looked the more dangerous side when they've been able to get it into attacking areas. Just the lack of possession have meant that they haven't been able to do so. But it's understandable playing against this Tottenham Hotspur side, who I think Ange Postecoglou will not really be too happy, particularly I think with his forward players. I think he'll be disappointed with his captain Heung-min Son and with Dejan Kulusevski. They've just kind of looked a little bit lackadaisical in the final third, and they probably could have done a little bit more when they've had the chance to so now, but it's well defended by Palace. Once again, Bissouma looking to bring it forward, although it's well intercepted by Schlupp. Decore does well to get out of a gap, finds Odsonne Edouard looking to drive down the left-hand side, and he is brought down almost like a rugby tackle from Pape Matar Sarr as the free kick's been taken quickly. Ayew just lays it off to his captain Joel Ward on the halfway line. He's then forced back to Anderson, and play will reset from Sam Johnston inside his own penalty area. Heung-min Son puts him under an awful lot of pressure, but the ball is sent long looking for Hughes. It's well defended by Romero. I have to say, it's been interesting to see how Will Hughes is lined up in this game. It's almost like at times, as we're seeing now, he's almost playing as in a front two with Odsonne Edouard, despite being a stereotypical central midfielder. I'd like to see the stats, but I'm sure he's potentially covered more ground than anybody else in this match so far.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. And I think about 20 minutes ago, I mentioned that off the ball, Crystal Palace looked to be operating in a 4-4-2, and that's obviously to try counteract
สเปอร์ดูมีปัญหาเหมือนกันเพื่อนบุกพาเลทไม่ขึ้นเหมือนกันเล่นดีจัดไม่ให้สเปอร์ได้ตั้งเกมบุกเลยโอ้โหไอ้ดัวสวยโอ้โหดึงขนาดนี้โอ้โหเล่นเร็วจัดมาอีกแล้ว
Through ball to James Maddison, just a little bit too heavy that time.
Yeah, not a bad idea from Mickey van der Ven, but I think if there was one criticism of the Dutchman so far this season, is that his passing hasn't really been as good as maybe you'd expect from some other elite centre backs in the league, the likes of John Stones and.
สเปอร์ครองบอลเยอะนะ 71% น่ะโอกาสยิง3 ครั้งเองอ่ะเพื่อน
When you've got the likes of James Maddison in your team, you don't really need to have unbelievable passing ability as a centre back, as we've just seen pictures of Roy Hodgson with a huge smile on his face, and I think that's very well deserved for his Crystal Palace side have been absolutely excellent, as Ben Davies puts in a number of challenges on both Jordan Ayew and Will Hughes. I am surprised the free kick wasn't given there against the Welshman, as he did appear to have both hands round the chest of Jordan Ayew. In fact, a free kick was given against Jordan Ayew, which does surprise me a little bit, but play continues with Cristiano Romero playing the ball onto the right-hand side for Dejan Kulusevski. He's almost dropped deeper than Pedro Porro to pick up the ball. He goes back to the Argentinian centre-back. He'll go square to Mickey.
มาแล้วเมดิสันเอ้าอะไรวะ
And poor touch from Romero almost allowed Edouard in behind there.
โอ้ย
Recover and get the ball to Van der Ven. He'll lay it off to James Maddison. Goes
แย่เหมือนกันสเปอร์วันนี้เวลา2 นาทีนะเพื่อนๆลดเวลา2 นาที
Quick pass to Pape Matar, who plays it first time looking for Kulusevski, and in the end he slips, miscontrols it, but Jefferson Lerma can't keep it in after he was able to get it under control either, and it will be a throw-in on the right-hand side for Tottenham, which they throw back to Romero. He goes square to Van der Ven inside the centre circle. Now Maddison on the left-hand side. He'll go back into Bissouma, and Palace have got
ครับเพื่อนๆสวัสดีนะครับเพื่อนๆ13-14 คนดูนะครับฝากกดไลค์ฝากกดถูกใจให้หน่อยนะครับพี่ๆเพื่อน
Now Kulusevski goes back inside to Pedro Porro, inside the penalty area. Brilliant challenge from Czech Decore, only as far as Pape Matar, who lost it in towards the back post. Great hands from Sam Johnston. เล่นแบบนี้มันใช้พลังงานเยอะนะผู้เล่นคิดเริ่มมาเลทอ่ะอยู่ที่ว่าแรงจะถึงไหมอ่ะถ้าแรงถึงนะแต่คือปัญหาคือแบบในช่วงท้ายๆอ่ะพี่ช่วงแบบท้ายเกมอ่ะช่วงครึ่งหลังท้ายๆอ่ะแรงมันจะหมดแต่นี่มันเล่นอย่างเงี้ยมันไล่10 คนแบบไล่กันสุดตลอดเลยอ่ะบี้ไม่สเปอร์เล่นง่ายๆเลยพูดตรงๆเลยมีไปซ้อมีไปแจ๊ะมีไปนู่นไปนี่
อ๋อคูรู้บอลโลจ่ายกันไม่ดีเอ้ยเข้ามือไปดิน่าจะจบแล้วล่ะเพื่อนเรียบร้อยครับเพื่อนจบครึ่งแรกสุดยอดสุดยอดแต่เดี๋ยวเรามาดูภาพนะภาพที่เกิดขึ้นในครึ่งแรกอันนี้ที่สนามของคริสตัลพาเลซนะครับเพื่อนสนามของคริสตัลพาเลซชื่อมันชื่อสนามอะไรวะผมอ่านก่อนทูฮุทูลูสปาร์คเหรอช่างมันเถอะนี่ครับป้าของคริสตัลพาเลซนะครับนี่อันนี้เป็นเจมี่สันถือกระเป๋าเต็มเลยเจมี่สันวันนี้บอลเหรอบอลที่ใช้เตะวันนี้เหรอสวยดีว่าเพื่อนมีแผนที่โลกปะนี่คือแผนที่ไหมอะดูดิมันเป็นแผนที่หรือมันเป็นลายวะช่างมันเถอะเดี๋ยวเป็นอะไรก็เรื่องของมันเถอะอันนี้คือลูกบอลนะครับนี่อันนี้คือภาพการฝึกซ้อมนะครับมีโรเซลโซ่ด้วยเนี่ยเบอร์18เนี่ยมันไม่ได้อยู่บีริวแล้ววะโรเซลโซ่เนี่ยเนาะมีแบรนด์กิลด้วยนี่คนในรูปก็อันนี้ครับเป็นจังหวะเจมส์สันดูครับดูวิ่งดูท่าวิ่งดูอะไรอย่างเงี้ยของเจมี่สันอะดูเหมือนไม่เก่งนะโหแต่เขาเป็นคนที่เก่งมากๆผมมาคนหนึ่งโคตรชอบเลยหน้ามาอาร์เซนอลแต่เสือกย้ายไปสเปอร์ก็โอเคเขาคงคิดถูกอันนี้คือปู่ทอยครับเพื่อนๆโค้ชคริสตัลพาเลซอายุ76ปีแล้วอะเยอะมากๆแล้วก็ยังคุมทีมยืนข้างสนามได้สบายมากเลยอันนี้เป็นจังหวะที่ไอ ผู้เล่นนะครับผู้เล่นของพาเลตแล้วก็สเปอร์นะแย่งกันนี่ก็เป็นภาพอันนี้เป็นอายูลิชาริซอนแล้วใครอีกคนหนึ่งวะนะเออมันบังอยู่ลิชาริซอนมันบังว่ามองไม่เห็นช่างมันนี่ครับเป็นอายุลิชาริซอนเกมนี้สู้กันทั้งเกมเพื่อนๆแต่ส่วนใหญ่อายุเหมือนจะดูดีกว่าเล็กน้อยนะเพื่อนลากไปกระชากได้ตลอดเลยอะเดวิดนี่เอาอายุไม่ค่อยอยู่แล้ววันเนี้ย นี่ก็เป็นไอยูกับบิกซูมาอีกเด่นมากนะเพื่อนไอยูเนี่ยครึ่งแรกเด่นมากอันนี้เป็นจังหวะเจ็บนะครับเพื่อนๆของไอแวนเดเวนนะครับจังหวะของแวนเดเวนนี่เจ็บแต่ก็ลงมาเล่นต่อได้ครับเพื่อนๆลงมาเล่นต่อได้สบายๆเลยก็จบครึ่งแรกนะเพื่อนที่เห็นอย่างไรกันบ้างก็พิมพ์คอมเมนต์พิมพ์แชทกันมาคุยได้นะครับเรามาดูสถิติกันต่างๆเนี่ยครับที่เกิดขึ้นในครึ่งแรกนะครับ ดูคนได้ประตูมากสุดคะแนนมากสุดนะน่าจะเป็นประตูนะเป็นวิคาริโอนะของสเปอร์ได้7.4เนี่ยของฝั่งคิตันพาเลตก็เป็นดูคูเล่นะได้7.2เดี๋ยวเรามาดูสถิติต่างๆนะครับอัตราการครองบอลนะครับคิตันพาเลต28สเปอร์72นะครับโอกาสยิงของคิตันพาเลต8ครั้งของสเปอร์3ครั้งนะครับเพื่อนเตะมุมคิตันพาเลตเตะอยู่คนเดียวเลยครับ5ครั้งสเปอร์0เนี่ยครับ8 ครั้งของพาเลทนะเข้ากรอบไป2หลุดกรอบไป2แล้วก็โดนบล็อกอีก4ส่วนสเปอร์นะครับโอกาสยิง3 ครั้งแล้วก็ยังไม่เข้ากรอบเลยสักครั้งหนึ่ง เป็นไปได้เว้ยอัตราการผ่านบอลนะครับมาดูฝั่งเจ้าบ้านบ้างนะครับเป็นคริสตัลพาเลซผ่านบอลไปทั้งหมด127 ครั้งผ่านบอลสำเร็จ89ครั้งเท่านั้นนะครับเพื่อนๆก็ผ่านบอลฝั่งตัวเองก็44ฝั่งสเปอร์ก็45อย่างเงี้ยครับเพื่อนเรามาดูกับสเปอร์ผ่านบอลไปทั้งหมด353ครั้งเกือบ3เท่าผ่านบอลสำเร็จ320ครั้ง91%นะในการผ่านบอลสำเร็จแล้วก็ผ่านบอลในฝั่งตัวเอง181ครั้งผ่านบอลในฝั่งคิสตัลพาเลซก็139ครั้งนะครับเพื่อนถือว่าโอเคถือว่าเยอะอัตราการผ่านบอลเหนือกว่าคิสตัลพาเลซเกือบ3เท่าแต่โอกาสยิงคิสตัลพาเลซมากกว่า8-3คิสตัลพาเลซ8ส สเปอร์แค่3เองนะครับใบเหลืองยังไม่มีคนโดนนะครับพี่เพื่อนค่า expect goal นี่ของสเปอร์นี่0.13ของคริสตัลพาเลซ0.25ถือว่าโอเคนะครับดูเหนือกว่านี่ครับเป็นจังหวะ3ครั้งของสเปอร์อันนี้ใครยิงคนแรกเดี๋ยวผมขออนุญาตดูแป๊บนึงนะนี่ครับยิงนาทีแรกของสเปอร์เป็นนาทีที่16นะครับยิงฟรีคิกนะอันนี้เหมือนยิงข้ามคานไปจังหวะยิงครั้งแรกของไอ้เนี่ยของสเปอร์มาจังหวะครั้งที่2กันบ้างนะครับเป็นเป็นแมดิสันอันนี้ยิงโอ้โหเนี่ยมันน่าเข้ามากเลยแบบไอ้นิชัยซอนหม่งคืนมาแล้วก็แมดิสันบอลเล่นะครับแต่บอลมันปิ้นหลังเท้าแล้วก็กระเด็นออกนอกโกไปเลยอันนี้คือจังหวะที่3นะของสเปอร์เป็นนิชัยซอนยิงอันเนี้ยยิงดีแล้วแต่เฉียดไม่เข้ากรอบไปหน่อยแต่ความคิดดีแล้วหักแล้วก็ยิงเสาแรกก็ว่าโอเคเลยก็สวัสดีนะเพื่อนๆ14-15คนดูนะครับตอนนี้ฝากกดถูกใจให้หน่อยนะครับพี่ๆฝากกดถูกใจฝากกด Subscribe ฝากกดติดตามนะครับช่องไลฟ์สปอร์ตนะครับช่องที่เชียร์ฟุตบอลนะครับพี่ๆเพื่อนเชียร์กันดูเหมือนพวกผมเป็นเพื่อนของพวกพี่ๆนะครับของคนดูผมเป็นเพื่อนของคนดูบอลกับพวกดูบอลกับพวกพี่ๆนะครับดูบอลกับคนดูสนุกสนานนะครับดูเหมือนเพื่อนผมก็เป็นเพื่อนของพวกพี่ๆครับดูบอลคนเดียวมันเหงามาดูกับผมดีฝ่านะครับพี่ๆก็เปิดหน้าจอของพวกพี่ๆไปแล้วก็มาคุยกันมาฟังผมโม้มานี่มั่งภาคมั่งโม้มั่งกินมั่งนู่นนั่นก็เป็นเหมือนเรานั่งดูบอลที่บ้านนะครับพี่ๆแต่อันนี้ผมแค่มีกล้องมาเท่านั้นเองผมก็นั่งดูบอลเหมือนที่บ้านเหมือนที่ผมดูปกติผมก็จะกินมั่งกินน้ำมั่งกินขนมมั่งกินข้าวมั่งก็เราดูเหมือนเพื่อนนะครับเพื่อนดูบอลด้วยกันนะครับก็ฝากพี่ๆนะครับฝากกด Subscribe ฝากกดถูกใจนะครับกดกระดิ่งแจ้งเตือนไปด้วยนะครับพี่ๆที่สำคัญเลยคือการกดถูกใจในแต่ละคลิปนะครับถ้าพี่ๆกดถูกใจของคลิปมากเท่าไหร่นะครับอัลกอริทึมของ YouTube มันเป็นอะไรที่มันแปลกมากมันชอบคลิปหรือว่าไลฟ์ไหนที่มีคนกดถูกใจเยอะยิ่งเพื่อนพี่ๆกดถูกใจเยอะนะครับมันก็จะพาไปแสดงผลของพี่ๆท่านอื่นนะที่ยังไม่เข้ามาดูการแสดงผลหรือว่าการมองเห็นของพี่ๆท่านอื่นมันก็จะมากขึ้นไปเรื่อยๆตามที่พวกพี่ๆช่วยกดไลค์กดถูกใจนะครับขอบพระคุณมากนะครับอีกอย่างนะครับใครจะซัพพอร์ตช่องนะครับเป็นทางเลขบัญชีนะครับหรือเป็น wallet ก็เลขบัญชีหรือว่าเบอร์โทรนะครับ wallet ก็อยู่ด้านล่างนะครับสนับสนุนเป็นค่าน้ำค่าไฟค่าโทรศัพท์ก็สนับสนุนกันมาช่วยให้ผมแบบมีแรงมีใจนะครับมีกำลังใจในการทำต่อไปนะครับขอบพระคุณนะครับก็ครึ่งแรกประมาณนี้พี่เพื่อนไม่มีอะไรมากผมว่าเรารอดูครึ่งหลังเรารอดูครึ่งหลังเนี่ยครึ่งหลังเนี่ยสนุกแน่อย่าลืมนะพี่ฝากกด Subscribe ฝากกดติดตามด้วยนะย้ำไม่1 ครั้งนะครับก็จะย้ำหลายๆครั้งพี่เพื่อนอันนี้เดี๋ยวผมเปิดตารางคะแนนแบบล่าสุดให้พี่ดูนะครับเนี่ยครับถ้าเป็นแบบเนี้ยสเปอร์ถ้าจบแบบนี้นะวันนี้เลยสเปอร์จะชนะ7เสมอ3เพื่อนๆจะชนะ7เสมอ3มี24คะแนนนะนำซิตี้อยู่3 แต้มแล้วถ้าซิตี้ชนะก็มีโอกาสแซงสเปอร์นะนัดหน้าถ้าซิตี้ชนะนะครับแต่ถ้าไม่ชนะก็ไม่แซงอาร์เซนอลก็ชนะก็ต้องชนะให้มากกว่า2 ลูกนะครับถ้าผลเป็นอย่างนี้นะคู่สเปอร์เป็นอย่างนี้นะครับอาร์เซนอลต้องชนะมากกว่า2 ลูกต้องยิงน้อย3 ลูกจะประตูได้เสียจะ21ก็จะแซงสเปอร์นะครับตอนนี้นะ อันนี้ผมเปิดอันนี้นะเพื่อนโอเคลองดูสถิติก็เป็นฮาแลนด์นะครับเพื่อนๆโอ้โหสุดยอดจริงๆนี่ครับดาวซันโวพี่เมียนะครับเป็นฮาแลนด์นะ9ประตูนะครับจุดโทษลูกหนึ่งที่2เป็นตอนทมินนะครับ7ลูกที่3โมเมซาร่า7ลูกที่4นะครับจอร์ลอดโบเว่น6ลูกที่5นะอิซัก6ลูกที่6ครับวังฮีชาน5ลูกที่7โอนี่วัตกินนะครับ5ลูกตาลอมวิซันก็5ลูกเหมือนกันทีมอาร์เซนอลผมไปไหนเนี่ยไม่มีใครติดเลยอาร์เซนอลผมไปไหนขออนุญาตดูอาร์เซนอลเนี่ยนะอาร์เซนอลโอ้โหอาร์เซนอลผมเป็นบุโกโยซาก้านะยิงไป4ลูกเท่านั้นเองโอ้ตามฮาแลนด์เยอะมากฮาแลนด์แม่งกดไป9ลูกแล้วเพื่อน9นัด9ประตูอ่ะก็ตกประตูนัดละ1ประตูครับต้องมีค่าเฉลี่ยจาก9นัดอ่ะโอ้โหสุดยอดจริงๆโอ้โหถ้าจำนวนประตูต่อแมตช์นี่แม่งนิวคาสเซิลแม่งอันดับ1เลยเพื่อนจำนวนประตูที่เสียต่อแมตช์เป็นซิตี้นะได้โอ้โหเสียน้อยสุดเลย 0.8 ค่าเฉลี่ยของบอลก็เป็นซิตี้สถิติการไม่เสียประตูอาร์เซนอลเนาะค่า expect goal นิวคาสเซิล19.9ว้าวสุดยอดก็อันนี้คือตารางนะครับพี่เพื่อนจะได้ดูกันอันนี้คือตารางอย่าลืมนะพี่ฝากกด Subscribe ฝากกดติดตามด้วยนะครับพี่เพื่อนรบกวนนะครับตอนนี้คนกดไลค์5คนเองนะครับก็ฝากกดไลค์ก็ถูกใจกันเยอะหน่อยนะครับพี่เพื่อนรบกวนหน่อย
The Crystal Palace striker Odsonne Edouard, his chance on the spin was well saved down low by Vicario. Tottenham grew into the game with a little bit of a spell of intensity going forward, but Crystal Palace responded strongly at the end of the half, creating a few half chances here and there, but no real clear-cut opportunities in the first half for either side. And it is half-time at Selhurst Park. It's Crystal Palace 0, Tottenham Hotspur 0, and it's been a half with very limited chances. The best chance of the half.
สักแป๊บนะครับเพื่อนรอพักครึ่งแป๊บนึง
Odsonne Edouard, his chance on the spin was well saved down low by Vicario. Tottenham grew into the game with a little bit of a spell of intensity going forward, but Crystal Palace responded strongly at the end of the half, creating a few half chances here and there, but no
นักเตะมาแล้วกำลังเดินลงสู่สนามแล้วนักเตะเอาไว้สนามของพาเลซนี่มันบรรจุคนได้สักเท่าไหร่
The best chance of the half falling to the Crystal Palace striker Odsonne Edouard. His chance on the spin was well saved down low by Vicario. Tottenham grew into the game with a little bit of a spell of intensity going forward, but Crystal Palace responded strongly at the end of the half, creating a few half chances here and there, but no real clear-cut opportunities in the first half for either side. And it is half-time at Selhurst Park. It's Crystal Palace.
วันนี้คนดูนะครับ 26,255 คนถือว่าก็โอเคนะสนามแบบกลางๆแต่ก็ใหญ่กว่าของประเทศไทยทั้งเยอะของประเทศไทยนี่ถือว่าอ่อนเทียบค่ากับทีมพรีเมียร์ลีกระดับกลางๆกับทีมเล็กๆนะเขาเล่นดูดีกว่าบ้านเราเลยผมไม่ได้ดูถูกนะครับเอาลีกอังกฤษมันก็ต้องดีกว่าอยู่แล้วเพราะฟุตบอลเขามีมานานแล้วใช่ไหมครับแต่เราก็อยากพัฒนาไปถึงเขาไปถึงพวกพี่ๆเขาที่อยู่อังกฤษก็คงจะดีลืมนะครับพี่ฝากกด Subscribe ฝากกดติดตามด้วยนะครับพี่รบกวนด้วยนะครับฝากพี่ๆนะครับช่วยกันโดเนทนะครับเป็นค่าน้ำค่าไฟนะ หรือว่าโดเนทให้ตัวผมนะครับเอามีกำลังใจในการทำต่อไปนะครับฝากพี่ๆนะครับช่วยโดเนทเลขบัญชีที่อยู่ด้านล่างนะครับหรือสแกนแคปหน้าจอแล้วก็ไปสแกน QR Code ได้เลยนะครับขอบพระคุณเลยแล้ว
was probably the change to make in terms of taking him off, and you said Emerson Morales, you called it, and I mean, do you think it's the right decision?
I do think it's the right decision. I think the biggest problem that Spurs had in that first half in terms of creating chances was the fact that James Maddison was being forced out wide to create overload with Richarlison. Every time the ball, that's the last position you want James Maddison in. We've seen this season he drops deep, he picks up the ball, but he doesn't go out wide.
แล้วบาเลตแม่งครึ่งหลังมาเนี่ยแม่งเอาแน่นอนเชื่อผมดิเป็นเบนเดวิดนะครับออกแล้วก็เอเมอร์สันรอยเยลนะครับลงมาแทน
Yeah, and that's spot on there. We Tottenham starting the half as expected, just getting on the ball a little bit. A sloppy pass from Romero that goes just behind Van de Ven, but the Dutch centre half does recover it just before it goes out. 1-2 between Emerson and Maddison, but that's not the best of introductions from the Brazilian fullback. But Van de Ven does really well to nip in. He's been taken down, no free kick. The referee waves it away as Christian Romero is going to look to the right-hand side here, and he goes to Pedro Porro in a decent crossing opportunity. He looks to beat his man, puts the ball in at the front post, and he's well defended by Matt Gahey there. Of course, he's formed such an incredible partnership with Joaquin Anderson, probably the best centre-half partnership outside your traditional top six. I'm highly impressed every time I watch them two centre-halves play, as I have been once again.
เปิดแทงเข่าออกไปเลย
Look at the pace from Van de Ven. I mean, he's won his side a free kick, and we were talking about his pace in the first half, and that is excellent recovery defending.
I mean, he's eaten Edouard alive there. As the ball's played over the top to Maddison, and Anderson deals with it. He's eating Edouard alive there. It's unbelievable pace from Van de Ven.
And he's down the right hand side. Pedro Porro is going to look for the cross. It's deflected from Mitchell and into the hands of Sam Johnston, but it was fantastic covering defending from Mickey Van de Ven. I mean, like I mentioned in the first half, I've been highly impressed with him.
เนี่ยเพื่อนๆสเปอร์ยากมาก
So far, I think the impact he's made has just been tremendous. Of course, Tottenham have struggled with that second centre half next to Christian Romero for a while. You often saw Eric Dyer play. Of course, Postecoglou has moved away from Eric Dyer, still at the club on the bench today. Davinson Sanchez often played. He's made his move to Galatasaray now. There's no real consistency, but Van de Ven certainly made that position his own as Emerson Morales has been fouled by Jordan now. He's not happy with the linesman's decision. He goes to talk to it. And, I mean, usually when you see a player going into a fourth official, an official's face, they find themselves in the book, whereas Jordan Ayew's done that and he gets away with it. The referee's not really giving him a talking to, but I mean, I thought they were cracking down on the rules of how you speak to officials and disagreeing with decisions. He's got away with that one as Christian Romero and Van de Ven are just knocking it about between each other. Now, not too much played of this second half so far. Lovely back heel from Richarlison, a lovely flick from him, and he made his way to James Maddison, but unfortunately the Englishman is offside. It was the right idea, but James Maddison just a little bit too eager with his front run. And look, I mean, how do we see the second half going? Do we expect it to be just free-flowing Tottenham football pushing for a win, or do we think Crystal Palace can carry on the end of that first half and maybe pushing for a surprise goal?
I do think as this game draws on, we're probably going to see more possession from Tottenham as we have seen at the start of this second half, but I think that the frustration is going to build. Like, there's no doubt about it. I think Crystal Palace have defended excellently in this game. Tactically, Roy Hodgson's got it very set. He knows exactly what's happening, and I think Jefferson Lerma and Sheffield have been excellent and really important in this game.
สเปอร์ต้องเอาหน่อยนะสเปอร์ตัวสำรองก็ยังมีหลายตัวนะครับเพื่อนๆมีเบนจอห์นสันด้วยที่ซื้อมาจากนอตติงแฮมฟอเรสต์อ่ะเป็นไบรอันกิลโลเซลโซสคริปพอยเบียเป็นทั้งคู่อย่างเงี้ยโอเคอยู่นะตัวเป็นเกมก็มีอยู่ลืมนะครับพี่ๆนะครับฝากกดซับสไครบ์ฝากกดติดตามด้วยนะครับรบกวนจริงๆครับรบกวนหน่อย
Crystal Palace. I mean, that's probably one of the worst corners you'll ever see.
Yeah, it wasn't good from Tottenham, and I think if this game was to finish how it is now, yes, Tottenham fans will be disappointed, but I think they are going to have to realise they're at lofty heights in first position. You look at the statistics; they are not playing as the first best team in the league. Statistically, they're more about the fourth best team.
ล้มไปดิ
Would still be excellent for Tottenham considering they lost.
เลดมันตัดหมดอ่ะเพื่อนจริง
in the summer.
อะไรไม่เข้าท่าจะบุกมันใส่มันนะมันตัดเลยอ่ะแล้วพาเลตอ่ะ
They're not
ไม่สนหน้าผมหรอก
unbelievable football, and you know you'd have to say as well they're gonna have games where they're gonna be frustrated. Palace are frustrating them in this game, and it is showing. That corner was a perfect example.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely. The frustration levels are there, and you can tell for Tottenham, but they are staying patient when they're on the attack. They're still trying to play their own way, so that, I mean, and Ange Postecoglou usually reaps the rewards for it, but it's one in the middle of the pack from Crystal Palace, and they've got bodies over here. Jeffrey Schlupp on the left-hand side. He beats Pedro Porres into the penalty area, cuts it back, and it's a cross goal. It's cleared by Emerson Royal, but only as far as the chest of Jordan Ayew, and it bounces to Pedro Porro, who can look down the right-hand side, and now Tottenham can counter-attack in a hectic moment here as Kulusevski looks to put it into the middle, but it's brilliant defending from Mark Guay, who once again superb defending. But Crystal Palace, what a chance down that left-hand side. Jeffrey Schlupp had all the space, way too easy to beat Pedro Porro. Terrible defending from the Spaniard, but his cross just couldn't find anyone in red and blue.
Yeah, I think for the first time this season, Pedro Porro's defensive frailty, should we say, have really been exposed. As Sam Johnston nearly gives the ball away to James Maddison, who waited far too long on that ball, and in the end it'll end up for a throw-in on the right-hand side for Tottenham, which they take quickly. But like I was saying, for the first time, Pedro Porro's defensive frailties really were exposed.
เนี่ยเหมือนกันเพื่อนๆสเปอร์อะเจาะยาก
Spurs looking a little bit shaky still at the back.
And it's Sarr on the right-hand side in the penalty area now. It's deflected through to Maddison, and it's going to be an own goal.
ไปแล้วอายิว
1-0 to Tottenham. It was a good move
โอ้
down
โห
the road.
จ่ายไม่ดีอ้าวเฮ้ยไปแล้ว
Just about he
ยิง
caught the ball.
เอ้ยลงไอ้เหี้ย
Strike. It looks like it was going wide.
เหี้ยไม่ได้ว่าเดี๋ยวโดนไม่ได้อะไม่ได้แล้วเนี่ยเอาละคูเซฟกี้ไปแล้วกูดูโอ้โหจะเปิดไม่ได้
Probably on the basis of this entire game as a whole, it is probably deserved for Tottenham. They do build it up nicely through Pedro Porro, Pape Matar and Romero, who in the end are able to get it to James Maddison, their talisman so far this season, who lashes at the strike. I mean, I'm not really quite sure what Joel Ward's doing. Of all the Palace today, Joel Ward has probably struggled the most.
เหี้ยเกือบแล้วโอ้โหจอห์นสันไปยังได้อยู่ครับสเปอร์ต้องบุกแล้วพาเลตเป๋แล้วเนี่ยต้องย้ำฝั่งนู้นเป๋เราต้องซ้ำปั๊บซาโอ้โหเข้าประตูตัวเองโอ้โหวอร์ดโอ้โหมันนี่ซันบอลเล่มเต็มเข้าวอร์ดเลย
Yeah, and they say successful teams always find a way to win, and Tottenham, they've done that due to an own goal. I said I needed to see a replay to be really clear on what's happened in terms of Joel Ward's movement and what he's done, and it was a clear own goal. James Maddison, I think he was going for goal, but he's just ended up lashing it across the face of goal. Joel Ward stuck a boot out at it. I'm not sure where he expected to put the ball with just an open net right next to him, and it's a clear own goal. It's terrible from Joel Ward, who I think's had a really tricky game. I mean, it's been quite a hot topic between myself and Luke this game, that Tottenham left-hand side, how they are almost doubling, tripling up at times as Bissouma goes down and wins a free kick. But it's been the perfect start to this half. We are 54 minutes in. If you are just tuning in, it is Crystal Palace 0, Tottenham 1, but it's been one at the edge of the Tottenham box, and Edwards going to go for goal here, and it's deflected just over the bar. It had Vicario backpedaling there, not really too convincing, but Tottenham getting a little bit complacent on the ball there. Bissouma, that's twice this game we've seen him caught in that position. Edward, it's well worth the effort. Good block in the end from Romero, but a good response from the home side.
Yeah, I mean, I did mention after that goal went in that this is now potential for Spurs to control this game, but they can't become complacent, because we've seen Crystal Palace have tested Spurs in this game. They had the best chance of the first half, that Odsonne Edouard chance up against Vicario that was saved very, very well, but they have created things, particularly from set pieces, as we're going to see here.
Yeah, the ball is whipped in now, and it's the corner, and it's headed across goal from Mark Guay, and it's a big chance from the set piece. Crystal Palace have been causing problems from set pieces all game so far. Mark Guay, it's a free header, no one marking him, and it's a brilliant delivery again from Will Hughes. He's put some brilliant corners in so far tonight. Pedro Porro watches it wide in the end, but Tottenham have absolutely got away with one there.
Yeah, they have. It's a really nice ball in from Will Hughes. I just think Palace need to be expecting them a little bit more and committing to them. I mean, obviously, I'm not a set-piece coach. It's not my place to say, but it does look like they're a little bit static from these corners. They need to try and be running onto these balls because Will Hughes is whipping them in with pace rather than lofting them in. So there's no point being stood still. You're going to have to run onto them and really try and attack them just to try and get, direct them properly and, try and catch Spurs off guard.
Tottenham are just knocking it about at the back here. Vicario to Romero, and he's going to look for his options forward. But once again, it's the system off the ball from Crystal Palace that is staying the same. They've not really tweaked anything as of yet. It's not really time to hit that panic button at the moment, and their off the ball setup certainly has caused problems for Tottenham Hotspur. Of course, did just find the goal. It was an own goal from Joe Ward. If you are just tuning in, 1-0 to Tottenham Hotspur at Selhurst Park. It was a really well worked move down the right hand side. James Maddison with a flash ball across the face of goal, and Joe Ward tapping it into his own empty net. A terrible moment for the Crystal Palace right back as Sar's on the ball now, and Tottenham, I think they're just happy to knock the ball about a little bit more without trying to force things. We saw them getting a little bit frustrated every time Maddison was on the ball. He was always looking forward, trying to create something as Emerson Rouse hit the ball into the referee there, who does just stop playing. It will be contested, you think, with giving the ball back to Tottenham. I'm not sure if that pass was actually going to reach its way out to the left-hand side, and Tottenham may just be a little bit fortunate to be given the ball back here, because I think Crystal Palace were going to intercept that ball anyway. But I mean, he has just dropped the ball for Bissouma to restart play for Tottenham. I think they may have got away with one there, and it's going to be a free kick. Jordan Ayew just pulling back Emerson Royal there. And how do we think that Crystal Palace have to respond here? Because you look to the bench, there's not too many attacking options. There's of course Raksaki, who had such an impressive loan spell at Charlton last season. They've got Mateus Franco, who's finally back from injury. Of course, he was signed in the summer from Brazil, the Brazilian forward, and he's only made the one appearance off the bench, which was last week against Newcastle, and he featured recently in the under-21s. But I mean, I'll come to Luke in a moment. It is Tottenham, as Crystal Palace are on the attack here. It's a brilliant challenge from Romero, but I mean, there's also Jean-Philippe Mateta, more of a presence up front. Do we think that Crystal Palace have to look to their bench at any point soon?
I think soon might be a little bit much. I think at the end of the day, they don't need to panic. They've put Tottenham under pressure now. But only Roy Hodgson will know the answer to this, because he sees his plays at training. Will Hughes has played an important role today in terms of his positioning and stuff, but now that they're 1-0 down, he needs to see if there's somebody on his bench who can offer more going forward in terms of chances in front of goal, as well as be able to take up the positions that Will Hughes has been taking up. It does look like Raksaki is going to be the one to come on, so potentially it will be Will Hughes who... Raksaki being someone who can, offer a little bit more in terms of being in front of goal, but also I think as well he probably has the energy to take up the positions that Will Hughes has taken up in this game. It was almost like a second striker, something I've never seen Will Hughes do before, and he's done it very well today.
Yeah, and it was almost on cue. As soon as I start talking about options for Crystal Palace, to get Raksaki shipped off and ready to come on, and I mean, you do think it'll be Will Hughes that makes way, and it's almost going to be quite a shame for him, because he has had quite a good game for Crystal Palace. But you think just to add that extra attacking outlet, of course he did have the really impressive loan spell at Charlton Athletic last season in League One. He's earned himself a chance. There was huge rumours of him going to the Championship on loan, as Richarlison looks to put the ball in the box, and it's well blocked by Doucouré. I know he was strongly linked with Hull City at one point, Raksaki on loan, but he has stayed with Crystal Palace, and he's getting his options here, opportunities here and there off the bench, as the ball whipped in from James Maddison is well defended by Anderson, and it's going to go out for Tottenham thrown in. We are looking at the changes here, and it isn't going to be Will Hughes that makes way. It's actually going to be Jeffrey Schlupp that is the man to make way for Crystal Palace. Do you think that's the right substitution?
Well, I think it's an interesting one. I haven't seen very much of Jesper Raksaki, so I don't really know his presence on the field as much. And I think Jeffrey Schlupp has been good at times in this game so far, but he has gone missing. He's not necessarily as competent on the ball. So I think bringing on Raksaki, who, considering he scored 15 goals in his first season of senior football in a league as physical as League One, I think it shows a lot of promise for him, and it'll be interesting to see how he can impact this game in a game where Palace need a goal and have looked like getting one. Let's not pretend like they haven't been dangerous. They have looked like they've been capable of picking up a goal in this game.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the positions taken up now, because Raksaki is a natural right winger, and Jordan Ayew was operating in that position initially, but Jordan Ayew has just moved to the left where Schlupp was playing, with Raksaki on the right, but here come Tottenham on the right hand side. Pedro Porro flashes it across goal. Once again, it's well dealt with by Joaquim Anderson, and his clearance can only go as far as the Senegalese man in midfielder. I think it's been really impressive at times today. A brilliant breakthrough season almost. We did see him feature quite a lot for Tottenham at times last season as well, but he certainly wasn't a regular under Conte at all, whereas, I mean, ever since Postecoglou's come in, Pape Sarr has been his man in midfield with Bissouma. It's been a great partnership formed, and I mean that's how you know a sign of a successful side. You can almost predict, if everyone's fit, you can almost predict the Tottenham lineup, and that just shows how these players are taking to life under Postecoglou so far. And I've been really impressed with Sarr this season as Vicario plays it forwards to Romero now, and he's going to look for options. Not a lot of movement ahead of him. Once again, that shape off the ball for Crystal Palace just proving a little bit tricky for the away side to break down as Van der Ven's on the ball, and he's shifting it from left to right really with Vicario, who are, I mean, Tottenham seem happy to just knock the ball out and about at the back, and he's got to get to a stage where Crystal Palace just have to squeeze up a little bit more, try force the mistake in these passes, because they're still knocking it around the back. Will Hughes is the only man really running at all at the moment. Vicario once again going to Romero, and I mean, is this really what Crystal Palace, how they should be operating? Because of course they don't want to find themselves 2-0 down. However, they are just allowing Tottenham to almost take the mick a little bit here.
Well, yeah, I think the reason why Tottenham are playing these passes is because I've noticed, I think Yves Bissouma is going to leave the field of play sooner rather than later. He's held onto his hamstring a number of times. He looks uncomfortable. His short is rolled up. So I think the biggest reason is that they are just knocking it about from side to side just so they can give Bissouma a little bit of a rest before they can make that substitute. It'll probably be somebody like Bentancur as Tottenham try to bring it forward here, but it's well dealt with by Mark Gehi. So I think I think the reason Tottenham are just playing like that is to give Bissouma the rest, and I don't know if Palace have recognised that or not.
Yeah, and it's Richarlison on the left-hand side now, and he finds Maddison. And he's looking for his options as well. He's well defended in the end by Rak-Saki, and it's going to be a throw-in on that side. And Tottenham, they are preparing them substitutes, and it's going to be Brennan Johnson and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. So you wonder who's going to be the man to make way for Brennan Johnson. I mean, Richarlison's probably had the quietest of halves as of all the forwards, but Heung-min Son, it's not really been his day either. Brennan Johnson could be an actual substitution there, and the substitute is getting ready. Bissouma is making way for Højbjerg, and like Luke said then, he's not moving the best, and it's a substitute we expected to be made in the end, and it is going to be Richarlison that makes way for Brennan Johnson back from his injury, of course, and he'll be looking to make a big impact, the Welshman. And like I said, we expected one of the changes, and the other change, Brennan Johnson, is that to, do you think, just to add a little bit more pace in behind so they can look for them long balls in behind that Crystal Palace defence and in behind Joel Ward especially?
Quite possibly, but I also think as well, I think it's to counteract the fact that Højbjerg is not going to bring the ball forward, and I think as dangerous as Richarlison can be in front of goal, I don't think he quite has the take-on ability and the dribble succession that that Brennan Johnson has. So because there's no longer going to be the overloads on that left-hand side, it is now going to be a case of Brennan Johnson has to do it on his own because Højbjerg is not going to come forward.
Yeah, it was a promising counter-attack there from Tottenham. Kulusevski down the right-hand side, and an offside is given in the end. He was looking to pull it back for Heung-min Son. It was just behind the Korean forward in the end. However, like I just mentioned there, the offside flag was up anyway, so even if they did go on to create a big chance or score a goal, it wouldn't have counted anyway. But I mean, some really interesting substitutions there for Tottenham, especially the Brennan Johnson one for me, because I think I was quite surprised to see them make that change. I didn't expect them to really change anything going forward, and that may be because of the lack of involvement, how they're struggling to get up the pitch. Brennan Johnson is so different to any of the other Tottenham forwards in terms of he can operate up front and on the left-hand side, a bit like Heung-min Son himself, the Tottenham captain, which is why I thought he'd probably come on for Son, despite him being the top scorer of the side, as there's a cross whipped in from Crystal Palace. It's a terrible ball in from Mitchell, and it's going to go out for a Tottenham goal kick, and Vicario on the ball now waiting to get us back under players. Crystal Palace are readying a substitution, another substitution as well, as it's going to be Romero going out to Mickey van der Ven, and you think it's these moments now, they're knocking the ball about at the back once again, and this is where I believe Crystal Palace should just step up a little bit, try force a mistake. We've seen that as much as they do have the most clean sheets in the league, there is some mistakes here and there in this Tottenham side that you can get at, and I think Crystal Palace are just allowing them to play football here, and they've worked their way up to the middle of the park. Sarr switches it. I mean, it's brilliant build-up play from Tottenham. It's fantastic. Brennan Johnson with a quick header down to James Maddison. His first touch gets it out of his feet really well. He gives it back to Brennan Johnson, who cuts it back for Heung-min Son, and it is a fantastic team goal. Heung-min Son wheels away. Brennan Johnson, only moments on the pitch, creates the goal, gets the assist, and it's Heung-min Son's 8th goal of the game. What a move, and it's Crystal Palace 0, Tottenham Hotspur 2.
Yeah, that is Ange ball at its finest. It's brilliant play from Tottenham. You mentioned Crystal Palace probably need to step up and try and put a bit more pressure on the ball. I think that's exactly why they were wary of doing so, because Tottenham can move the ball forward so quickly and so effectively, and cause Crystal Palace's backline so many problems. They're dragged from left to right. Joachim Anderson is dragged out with Joel Ward to try and deal with James Maddison. It allows the space for Brennan Johnson to receive the return pass, and it's a brilliant ball in from the Welshman to find his captain Heung-min Son, who slots it into an empty net as Sam Johnston's caught out of position trying to cover off the near post. It's a brilliant move. A lot of credit's got to go to Pape Matar as well, because it's a brilliant switch ball over the top to Brennan Johnson, who quickly heads the ball back to James Maddison. I have to say, it's just fantastic play all round. It's an excellent Tottenham Hotspur goal, and it's brilliant football, and you'd have to say it 2-0. It's a big mountain for Crystal Palace to climb now, having not really looked as dangerous in this second half as they did in the first half. We're potentially going to see another substitute here. Tarek Mitchell's gone down. Looks like his race is run this evening. He's been far better than his captain Joel Ward on the other side of the field for Crystal Palace, but it has been a rough night for him. It's been a rough night for the two Palace fullbacks. They've done a lot of running, and it's a goal that, while Heung-min Son's been quiet tonight, that Tottenham definitely deserve, and a brilliant end to a wonderful Tottenham move.
And it's a fantastic introduction to the game from Brennan Johnson. Richarlison just wasn't getting involved too much in the second half. I was quite complimentary of him in the first half. I thought his defensive work ethic was there. He was helping out a lot. Postecoglou looking on in delight, because that second goal is huge. And like I said, Brennan Johnson, really well done from him. Tarek Mitchell is down at the moment, so play hasn't been restarted as of yet. He's currently down getting treatment, and one of the first things Postecoglou had to do when he came into his role was name a new club captain, with Harry Kane leaving the club. And the video giving the captaincy out went viral, because I mean, most football fans have seen it, and Heung-min Son looked quite shocked to be given the captain's armband as the new club captain, but he's rewarding his manager this season. Definitely 8 Premier League goals. It's been a brilliant season from the Korean forward, and I mean, usually we see him in Brennan Johnson's positions on the left, creating the chances for the striker, whereas he's almost taken that striker role into his own. He's getting the tap-ins that every striker needs, and you can still see Son and Maddison, they're still smiling, they're still celebrating almost on the halfway line with each other. Son doing his captain's work, telling the team to keep going, but I mean, he's almost found himself as a brand new number 9, but he does it so brilliantly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people talked about the sale of Harry Kane being a good moment for Richarlison to play through the middle and make himself the main man. He hasn't done that. He's made the left-hand side his own role, and that's because earlier in the season against Burnley, Heung-min Son found himself up front due to Richarlison not being favoured by Ange Postecoglou, and he scored a hat-trick, and since then they've not looked back. They've played Richarlison on the left-hand side. They've played Heung-min Son through the middle, and it's been excellent. It's been an excellent decision from Ange Postecoglou. We're going to see another substitution for Crystal Palace. It's going to be, I believe, Nathaniel Klein. Actually, no, it's not. It's going to be Ahmad to come on in replacement for Tarek Mitchell. Actually, Nathaniel Klein is going to come on as well, so I'm just waiting to see who Ahmad has come on in replacement for. It's Will Hughes that's going to leave the field of play for Crystal Palace, and I have to say, being 2-0 down is bad enough, but to see the injury of Tarek Mitchell as well is going to be a big loss for Roy Hodgson, because they've got some serious injury problems at the minute.
Yeah, confirmation. Nathaniel Klein and Akamada are on for Crystal Palace, and it's an interesting change that they've gone with Akamada for Will Hughes. It is a central midfielder for a central midfielder, whereas Will Hughes was naturally playing a little bit further forward as well, so I'm surprised to not see Mateta or Franca called upon here. Crystal Palace do take the free kick quickly, and it's going to be smashed out of play by Emerson Royal, but we are approaching the halfway mark of the second half, which means I'll pass you over for the rest of the second half to Luke.
Thank you very much. As Palace have the throw-in on the right-hand side with Joel Ward. There's a few disgruntled Palace fans behind him waiting for him to take the throw, and I think they'll be a little bit disappointed with how they've come out in this second half with 70 minutes on the clock there. They're running out of time to really try and get something out of this game, as there'll be another throw-in on the right-hand side for Joel Ward to take. He's just asking for some options in front of him. It's his own goal really that set Tottenham on the way to being comfortable in this game, as Raksaki tries to get away from Emerson, still going as the young academy graduate, and he wins his side another throw-in on the right-hand side. It'll be Joel Ward to take it once again, and it almost feels a little bit like Crystal Palace look a little bit lost and a little bit hopeless in this game, as Ward picks the ball up, tries to play it into the middle. Papa Matasar, a little bit of an unconventional clearance, and it will be another throw-in on the right-hand side, but they all are a little bit static and a little bit kind of lost for words in this situation.
Yeah, it's a really difficult moment for the home side, because when you find yourselves 2-0 down to the league leaders, there's only so much you can do, and I think Crystal Palace can take a lot of positives from that first half. James Maddison so almost nicking it off Joachim Andersen there, and it's going to be a Crystal Palace throw in the Danish centre-half, really getting away with one there. But I mean, it's been a big missed opportunity that first half, because every time I talk about the chances, I think the better ones fell to Crystal Palace. I look back to that Odson Edouard one quite early on in the game, where it was well saved by Vicario. I mean, and you can't doubt the impact of the Tottenham goalkeeper in keeping his side in plenty of games early on, and I mean, it's a huge credit to the Italian in between the sticks. But this second half, I asked Luke at the start of the half, how do we see this half going? And he replied, I think it'll be a lot of Tottenham pressure. They'll be going for it a lot more. And it's absolutely spot on, and it's panned out that way. And it's no surprise to see Tottenham really go for it, because when you're at the top of the league, these are games that Tottenham predominantly would have struggled in plenty of recent years without any success at all. But Postecoglou's changing that narrative definitely, and they've come into this second half, still look comfortable. They've not panicked at all. They've played their own football, and they deserve to be 2-0 up, as much as they got fortunate with the first goal. I mean, personally, I think they do deserve this 2-0 lead, and we are in the 72nd minute. It is still Crystal Palace 0, Tottenham Hotspur 2, but I mean, for Crystal Palace now, it's about biding your time. Try counter-attack if you can, because even at 2-0, Tottenham are still going to want all the ball.
Yeah, don't allow it to get any more, don't allow the defeat to become any worse than it already is. You know, losing 4-0 away at Newcastle wasn't a good result, and you don't want to let this become any worse, as Joel Ward tried to bring it down the right-hand side, but was challenged well by Brennan Johnson, who appears to have hurt himself in the challenge, but he looks like he's going to be okay to carry on just holding onto his arm, as Joel Ward throws the ball backwards to Joachim Andersen, tries to get away from James Maddison, but he's forced back to his own goal and kicks it all the way back to Sam Johnson. He's forced to kick it first time due to the pressure from Heung-min Son. Looks for Jordan Iris, a brilliant touch from the Ghanaian, but unfortunately he can't quite get it under control, and Pedro Porro can take it off him, and Spurs look to bring it forward. Højbjerg looking for Heung-min Son, blocked well by Crystal Palace. Now they can bring it forward through Raksaki, trying to get past Emerson Royale, and Andy Madley does well to recognise that the Brazilian got the ball there, and there is no need to blow up for a free kick. Interestingly enough, there's not been a single yellow card in this game. There's been some few feisty challenges, a few late challenges, but still no yellow cards to be brandished by the referee in this game. Raksaki looked like he could have got one there, but he was able to get the ball, as though Maddison retains possession for Ange Postecoglou's side, and they have the ball once again through Christian Romero. Heung-min Son's dropped very deep to pick up the ball there, as he's almost playing alongside Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. He then goes square to Van der Ven, who goes further out wide to Maddison, then out wide once again to Brennan Johnson. Return ball to James Maddison, plays it inside to Emerson Royale, opens up on his right foot, can't get the shot away. Porro gets the shot off this time, and it's blocked well by Jordan Ayew, and it'll be a throw-in on the right-hand side for Pape Matar. Well, it looks like he's willing to hand it off to somebody else, and indeed he is. He just drops it on the floor for Pedro Porro to take, and the Spaniard is in absolutely no rush to take it. I think due to the nature of the fact that Palace have had an injury in Tariq Mitchell, the game is almost done and dusted. They don't feel like they're going to be able to challenge the Spurs goal much, and I think Spurs probably feel that the game is done and dusted. I think the last 15 minutes or so of this game could be almost played at walking speed, unless Spurs decide they want to try and rack up some goal difference.
Yeah, and I think sometimes Crystal Palace, they look electric, and when you watch a game like this, you can absolutely see the clear absentees of Eberechi Eze and Michael Olise, two huge parts of this team, if not the biggest part of this team, both out injured, and they're clearly missing them. Michael Olise is such a bright spark on that right hand side. He's not featured yet this season due to an injury, and Eberechi Eze recently injured as well, and he usually operates that number 10 role, and you think he would have operated in that role that Will Hughes has almost played today, and it's just not really got going for them. They clearly miss that quality because they are the two best forwards in the side, or Alicia and Eze, and they've quite clearly missed them, and Tottenham have used that to their advantage because, I mean, they have had some chances, Crystal Palace. Edouard's chance, they made one, but the creativity hasn't been there even when they have got on the ball, and that's been a real disappointment for the home side.
Yeah, ball played over the top looking for Jordan Ayew after a free kick was given for a challenge on Raksak. He's brought down by Pedro Porro, and the referee Andy Madley says it was a two-handed push on the Ghanaian, so it will be a free kick on the left-hand side for Crystal Palace as Jordan Ayew gets back to his feet, and it looks like he is going to be the one to take it as Andy Madley just takes a few steps to work out where the ball is going to go. I think, despite the result, there could be quite an exciting substitution for Crystal Palace coming up as Mateta and Matheus Franca were stripped up and ready to come on. So yes, they could be about to lose two league leaders, Tottenham, but it's an exciting debut nonetheless. It looks like it's going to be for the young Brazilian Matheus Franca as Jordan Ayew is standing over this free kick, just directing people where he wants them to be. Plays a lovely ball in, and it's dealt with necessarily as well by Christian Romero, because it was a brilliant ball in from Jordan Ayew, and it had to be cleared away by the Argentinian. Otherwise, I think it was Mark Gehi who was ready to just put it in the back of the net. You have to say, Crystal Palace's set pieces have been second to none today. They've been really, really impressive.
Yeah, there's been some good balls in. Of course, Franca could definitely make an impact. He made 21 minutes off the bench in that 4-0 loss to Newcastle. Not much happened, but it was a big moment for him to get him on the pitch, get fitness up, which allows them to bring him on today as well. But there's another corner coming in for Crystal Palace and another set-piece opportunity, and if they get one here, then it could be game on.
Ball whipped in, looking for Joachim Andersen. It's brought down by Chet Dekura on the edge of the penalty area, but it's blocked well by Kulusevski, and then Palace can look to try and bring it forward with Nathaniel Klein, but it is going to be stopped by the referee Andy Madley as Romero is holding on to the back of his head. So obviously a head injury does mean a pause in play from the referee as he's going back down on the floor. There will need to be a check here, you'd assume, from Tottenham Hotspur medical staff to make sure there is no concussion. We're going to see a replay from the corner as to where this potential head injury came from. He does get an arm in the back of the head from Jefferson Lerma. A little bit of a soft one maybe for Christian Romero, but something that will have need checking. I mean, in fact, I say a little bit of a soft one, I don't actually think he was touched in the back of the head there, Romero, which is a strange one because he didn't need to go down. Spurs were looking to try and counter-attack, but it's happened nonetheless, and we are going to see the substitutions now of Jean-Philippe Mateta and Matheus Franca. Franca making his home debut at Selhurst Park, having come on for his Crystal Palace debut against Newcastle in the 4-0 defeat last weekend, and it is going to be Jefferson Lerma to make way for the Brazilian. The former Bournemouth man, I think him alongside Chet Dekura, while yes, the side have conceded 2 goals, certainly not their fault at all. I think they've had a very good game today.
Yeah, they have, and I think off the ball, it's like we said, the defence in the midfield haven't actually been bad for Crystal Palace. It is worth noting, they are against the league leaders. Tottenham are on absolute fire. The other substitution as well, Odsonne Edouard has made way for Jean-Philippe Mateta, so that is a like-for-like. A little bit surprised that they didn't sacrifice maybe one of the midfielders to put Mateta alongside Edouard, so there's a bit of a focal point up there as there's an overhit pass that goes out of play. Matheus Franca trying to get on the end of it for his first impact, however he can't. He's going to go out for a goal kick, but I mean, Jefferson Lerma, he's one of them that he quietly goes under the radar. I say quietly, he does often pick up his cards. Got a few red cards in his time at Bournemouth and a lot of yellow cards, whereas he's been a little bit quieter today. He just does his job alongside Chet Dekura. They always do a 7 out of 10 job, you feel. They always do what's asked of them. Romero is back on the pitch now, and just going back to that Romero one, I just feel it was game management. He's gone down. There was a little bit of a scramble around. If he goes down holding his head, he knows the referee's going to stop playing. Like I said, he's one of them types of centre halves. He's going to try by his side some time, and I think it was just game management from Romero, because after seeing the replays, he definitely didn't get touched in his head.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got the match stats up on our screens at the minute. Crystal Palace have had more attempts on goal, more attempts on target on goal, but they have also only had 25% possession. So that is where I think Palace maybe struggled, is yes, they've had more shots on goal and arguably more chances than Tottenham in this game. What has been the turning point is Tottenham have been able to manage the game through their possession and through their controlling of the pace, and they bring it forward through Kulusevski, who for some reason I think went for goal there from about 20-25 yards out rather than slotting through Pape Matar, who'd have been one-on-one with Sam Johnston. Play continues though with Tottenham once again as Johnson Goes onto the left-hand side for Madison, squared up by Joel Ward, plays it inside to Heung-min Son just outside the penalty area, looks to dink it forward, but it's blocked well by Anderson, and now Palace can try and clear through Jordan Ayew, although he loses out to Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and now Spurs can look to try and bring it forward, no, but they're forced back by Palace, and Romero will go all the way back to Vicario, just outside his own penalty area. Mateta coming across just to cut off some passing lanes, but it will be returned to the Argentinian. He'll then move it forward to Højbjerg, then inside to Pedro Porro, back to Højbjerg, and Tottenham now will probably just look to see out possession for the rest of the game. There's no real need to expend any extra energy. I mean, you would argue maybe it's a perfect performance, but certainly not a perfect result considering you've got Yves Bissouma who with what seemed to be a hamstring injury. And when you look at the fixtures coming up for Tottenham, they've got Chelsea at home, always a big game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, as we're just going to cut off as Spurs look to try and bring it forward in the penalty area. Lovely turn from Kulusevski to get away from Gehi, not once but twice. Forced back to Pape Matar, then to Pedro Porro once again, goes back to Højbjerg, just looking for some.
ง่วงมากเลยผมว่าหลับเฉยๆเลย
Then back to Madison, he'll go back to Højbjerg, and Palace once again in their defensive shape. We're going back to their
หลับเฉยๆเลยผมอะง่วงจัด
Then they have Wolves away from home, and then Villa at home before Manchester City away. So they've got some big games coming.
หลับเฉยๆเลยผมไม่รู้เลยผมหลับตอนไหนดูดิ
To pick up another injury, you know, we've seen Van der Ven pick up a knock tonight. We've seen Destiny Udogie not even be in the matchday squad because of an injury, and now we've seen Bissouma forced off with an injury.
สเปอร์เล่นดีนะนำ 2-0 แล้วสบายชนะอยู่แล้วล่ะ
The 3 points with less than 10 minutes remaining in this game. It certainly hasn't been a perfect match by any means, and Palace have tested Tottenham in this game as they bring it forward here with Pape Matar. He's got Heung-min Son in the middle. Great defending by Anderson. It'll be a corner on the right hand side.
Yeah, it's a big waste is that counter attack because Pape Matar is probably been
ตู้ยากแล้วโหสเปอร์เล่นดีจัดเพื่อนๆนี่ต่างลุ้นแชมป์สูงเลยอ่ะ
He was looking for Son, and I'm not sure he actually had to go to the Korean. He could have gone a little bit behind him or to the back post to Brennan Johnson. He almost forced it looking for his captain. He's giving him a hug to say sorry now, but just touch on them Tottenham fixtures. They are difficult fixtures, but the ones you've got to prove yourselves in if you want to prove yourselves as a successful side as the ball's whipped in.
Emerson dinks it to the back post, and Brennan Johnson heads it back towards the middle of the penalty area. I'm really not quite sure why the Welsh international done that. It looked like he had a free header at the back post to potentially just nod it in for a third. We're going to see a replay. Good corner movement from Tottenham. Excellent play from Emerson to find it to the back post. I mean, I know it's a difficult angle, but surely he's got to go for a goal from there.
Yeah, that's one of them that I think he's cut it back too much. If you're not going to go for goal, at least put it across goal where he's actually just headed it sideways back into the centre of the box instead of a cross goal. And no one's ever going to be able to get on the end of that. It was fantastic from Tottenham. There is a VAR check because Brennan Johnson's header back into the penalty area does come off the arm of Nathaniel Klein, but it didn't look like one of them that it was out there, and the referee does wave play on, and I do think that's the right decision because it did come off, it did brush the arm of Nathaniel Klein, but it wasn't one of them that was clear in an awkward position. He had his hands down by his side, and I think that's the right decision again.
I mean, talk about one of the lightest of touches. I don't think the direction of the ball even changed after touching Nathaniel Klein there, so it would have been a decision if it was given as a penalty. But Spurs once again looking to try and get a third in this game. Heung-min Son plays the ball into the middle towards James Maddison. It's almost roles reversed than what has been usual in this Premier League season so far, and in the end Maddison just couldn't quite get on the end of it, as it wasn't a brilliant ball from the Tottenham captain. And Crystal Palace looking to try and build the ball forward once again, but a poor pass from Matheus Franca looking for Ahmada, and now Tottenham can try to bring it forward inside the penalty area. Well played though by Matheus Franca just to try and get the ball clear. He's giving it away though to Pape Matar. Ball played into the box, and it's straight into the hands of Sam Johnson, who looks to try and get Palace going with a long kick downfield, looking for Raksaki on the right hand side. He's under pressure from Emerson, does well though, does the youngster, to keep hold of the ball. Nice play from the former Charlton loanee, and it will be a free kick though on the right hand side for a challenge on him by Højbjerg. Andy Madley telling the Danish international to stop arguing and just get back into position, which I think is a little bit harsh to have given a free kick there, but Andy Madley certainly was firm with his decision that had been given.
Yeah, Emerson Rally is having a little
ใช่พี่แมนยูกับแมนซิตี้เนี่ยสู้กันมันล่ะ
Too surprised that it has been given. Matheus Franca is stood over the ball, and of course the usual set piece takers in Eze and Elise fit at the moment, so to have another one in the locker of Mmateus Franca could be a big positive for when they're not playing as he whips the ball in.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be seen as much of a positive after that free kick. Barely beats the first man. In fact, it doesn't. Madison's able to get it clear easily, but Anderson's picked it up on the left-hand side. Tries to play the ball into the box. What a brilliant ball that was by Joachim Anderson. Really well blocked by Mickey van der Ven to deny Mark Gehi a chance on goal. Wonderful ball towards the 6-yard box by Anderson. I mean, it's a terrible delivery from Mmateus Franca, but if Joachim Anderson's able to put deliveries in like that, you certainly wouldn't deny him on being on set pieces, as Franca is now going to step over the corner. You'd hope it's going to be a better delivery. This time it is. It's a wonderful corner, in fact, that I think took a deflection off a Spurs player. It'll be another corner, this time on the right-hand side for Crystal Palace. I mean, we've seen Jordan Ayew put in some brilliant deliveries today. Will Hughes in particular has put in some wicked corners. And Matias Franca there with another nice ball in after Anderson put in a nice cross as well. We'll ignore the free kick from the Brazilian, as that was pretty atrocious. The corner taken short this time, though, to Raksaki. On his left foot, goes for goal. Blocked well this time by Højbjerg. He chased it down well, did the Dane, and it was a good block in the end. So it'll be another corner on the right-hand side for Matias Franca. We'll see if he'll go short again or whether he'll try to whip this one into the box. He does whip it into the box this time. I mean, I'm not really quite sure what's worse, that or the free kick. He has just kicked that straight out of play. I mean, we'll put it down to nerves. It's he's 19 years old, coming over from Brazil. It's your home debut. You want to try and make an impression. Not quite done so with that free kick in that corner.
I think tonight, this second half, we've probably seen two of the worst corners you'll see all season. There was the Spurs one that they tried to play short, that they just weren't on the same wave.
เอานี้อาร์เซนอลเปิดบ้านการเป็นเยือนของเชฟฟิลด์ใช่อาร์เซนอลน่าเจอทีมพรุ่งนี้อาร์เซนอลสบายๆพี่ๆเพื่อนมีเกมนู่นนะแมนยูแมนซิตี้อ่ะโหสู้กันมันแน่อาร์เซนอลสบายๆ
one of the earlier corners, which was a much better delivery. Mickey van der Ven it was, getting just ahead of Jean-Philippe Mateta to cut out the cross, and that was brilliant defending. Some of the best defending we've seen all game, because despite being 2-0 up, they're cruising a little bit, they're still focused, and that's what
ลูกนี้ที่2-0นี่สบาย
keep playing at full intensity.
สเปอร์นี่แม่งโหดชิบหายเลย2-0
and this is why you can see this Spurs side becoming more successful every single week. Every single game the players, they're ready in 2 substitutions, and we're going to see a return of Rodrigo Bentancur.
Yeah, you know it's been a comfortable second half, at least, shall I say, when they're making substitutions like they're about to. Rodrigo Bentancur obviously ruptured his ACL midway through a season where he looked like he was stamping his mark on this Tottenham Hotspur side under Antonio Conte, being the most creative player in that side when they were really under a bit of pressure. He ruptured his ACL and it was downhill from there for Tottenham Hotspur, and Bryan Gil is going to return after winning the Europa League on loan at Sevilla last season. So it's quite interesting that a Tottenham player has won a trophy while out on loan before any of the other Tottenham players have done in the squad, but he's going to make an appearance tonight as well, as Emerson Royal is brought down, and it will be a free kick for the Brazilian. He's gone down holding onto his ankle by the looks of things, but we are going to see the substitutions of Bryan Gil and Rodrigo Bentancur. The first one is going to be James
ใช่ยังไม่แพ้ใครเลยสเปอร์ใช่ครับ
in a Spurs shirt.
เหมือนอาร์เซนอลก็ยังไม่แพ้ใครเหมือนกันนะ
Played a key role in that move for the second goal. A brilliant Tottenham move.
โอ้แม่งเก่งนี่หว่าเลยเพื่อน
And it is going to see Bryan Gil enter the field of play. We're also going to see the departure of Dejan Kulusevski, and what a brilliant moment this is for Rodrigo Bentancur. Almost a year out on the sidelines in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt for the first time in nearly a year, and the Tottenham fans look absolutely delighted.
Yeah, and he became pretty quickly a little bit of a fan favourite. One of few positive sparks in the Antonio Conte era, really, because his performances were brilliant. And I mentioned it earlier, despite him almost being one of the first names on the team sheet last season for Tottenham, despite him being back.
ใช่ขายเคนไปไม่มีผลกระทบเลยแถมแม่งเล่นดีกว่าตอนมีเคนอีกเพื่อน
He is on the ball now, and he's been put under a lot of pressure, but he just about deals with it. Some big pressing here from Crystal Palace, but he's going to have to work to get his place back, because you'd think the role that he would essentially take would be Papizar's. Of course, he's come on for Kulusevski, but I think that's just to compact the midfield and try and nullify the threat of Crystal Palace, but you think it's around Papi Sarr's role that he was playing under Conte as we get 8 minutes of stoppage time. That's a hefty chunk of the new rule that we've also seen introduced this season, but he's got to earn his place back as Bentancur, but it's certainly a big moment to get him back, and I'm excited to see what he can do for the rest of this game.
Yeah, he's on the ball once again, quick 1-2 between him and Emerson, but it was a misplaced pass from the Brazilian. It allows Crystal Palace to get back into possession, although Jordan Ayew's lost it once again. I know we've got the new rule of added on a little bit more of added time, and I'm really not quite sure where 8 minutes have come from. Tottenham are in behind here though with Brennan Johnson. Miscue pass somehow finds its way to Heung-min Son. Blocked well. Bentancur goes for goal, but it's a poor shot and it's blocked easily by Anderson, and Crystal Palace can clear just about through Jordan Ayew, although a good challenge from Romero sees it go out for a throw-in on the right-hand side. There's chest bump there between Porro and Romero. Both of them seem quite chuffed that challenge was put in. We're going to see a replay. I mean, completely miscued pass from Brennan Johnson. Found its way to Heung-min Son, who got a shot.
ยอดเลยอ่ะไอ้ปั๊บซาเนี่ยเล่นดีมาก
But I mean, never a penalty. I don't think he can do anything other than keep his arm against his chest, and rightly VAR
เล่นดีจัด
entertained the point of view of looking at it.
ปั๊บซานี่เป็นคนเซเนกัลนะครับเพื่อนกองกลางทีมชาติเซเนกัลเล่นดีจัด
Independent off-tube studio commentary. Crystal Palace currently losing 2-0 to Tottenham Hotspur. As Pedro Porro is on the ball, goes back to Romero, and he'll go further back to Vicario.
เกมไม่ได้สร้างคนเดียวเลยครับเพื่อน
Emptying relatively quickly at the minute. I mean, 8 minutes of added on time is probably, I mean, from the point of view of wanting to get home in the busy London.
หลุดแล้วยิงโอ้โหเย็ดเคเกือบประตูที่3เป็นพี่ด้วยนะครับฝากกดติดตามฝากกด Subscribe ด้วยนะโอ้โห
Goes short to Pape Matasar, does well to hold off Raksaki. In the end, it finds its way to Heung-min Son, but he's challenged well, although the ball's kicked straight to Christian Romero, and he'll just keep hold of it. I think the biggest disappointment for Roy Hodgson will be the fact that Crystal Palace have had such little of the ball. The passing just really hasn't been up to scratch in this game. They've looked dangerous when they brought the ball forward.
เวลา8 นาทีครับเพื่อนๆโอ้โหโคตรเยอะ
On the ball when they've tried to maintain possession, they have
ไม่เล่นดีโคตรเลยเพื่อนพอเดฟก็ดูใหญ่ขึ้นมากๆเลย
Brian Hill on the left-hand side goes back to Emerson. Quick layoff to Bentancur. 1-2 then between him and Heung-min Son. Then onto the left-hand side for Emerson, then back to Rodrigo Bentancur. And as you mentioned previously, Bentancur's got a lot of work to get back into side. Pape Matasar and Ibasuma have both been excellent at the start of the season at driving the ball forward, but if there's one player that can do that in this Tottenham side, it is Rodrigo Bentancur. As Palace look to bring it forward through Ahmada, it's a
ไอ้เหี้ยโค้ชก็ดีด้วยถูกครับพี่โค้ชแม่งคุมมีนักเตะอยู่เลยอะโค้ชของสเปอร์เพื่อน
The recovery speed, the tackling, he's made up for some mistakes from Christian Romero in terms of being out of position. He's certainly made up for a lack of pace in the first half from Ben Davies. And personally, despite the fact that Tottenham are going to win this game probably by 2-0, and it should be an attacking play that would maybe get all the plaudits, I would happily give my man of the match to Mickey van der Ven. Is on Jordan Ayew, who's wonderfully brought the ball down and scored an unbelievable volley. I was talking about the brilliant defending of Mickey van der Ven. It was poor defending from Pedro Porro to allow Jordan Ayew to bring the ball down. What a strike that is from the Ghanaian.
And it's a big response, and it sets up for a nervy ending for
the
league leaders. He's chested it down, and he's taken it absolutely brilliantly. What a take that is from Jordan Ayew. We're just seeing it closer up. I think they're checking for a handball because he doesn't chest it down. It certainly comes off his arm, but is it a case of it? Is it a sleeve? We're not the best.
โอ้โหไม่ได้
I mean, you can take nothing away from the finish. It is absolutely brilliant, but I think he's handballed it.
This goal's not going to count. You're right. It does come off his forearm pretty much. I mean, Romero appealed for it straight away that that's a handball. It comes off a combination of his chest and his arm. I mean, it'll be so disappointing because I have to say, I do feel that Crystal Palace don't deserve to be 2-0 down in this game.
Does he chest it?
เอาอายุยิงไอ้เหี้ยเอ้ย 2-1
because it's his arm that means that he has that ball under control. I mean, we're still waiting to see. I mean, VAR
is the rule not if it's a double touch though? You can't penalise them for it though.
Well, I think that's supposed to be the rule. Whether that always gets followed, I'm not quite sure. And we're still waiting. They're looking at this at all sorts of angles here at VAR. I don't think any of them have been the best of angles. It'll be interesting to see. I agree with what you're saying. The rules, I think, states that if it's
ยิงสวยจัดครับเพื่อนๆ2-1 จอร์แดนอายุ
then even if it does take a double deflection and it's prevented something or it's allowed the player to get it under control, then a foul has been given for handball. The referee Andy Madley, I think, has just asked for the ball to be put in his hands. I thought we were going to get the end to a check.
เนี่ยมันไม่น่าจะแฮนด์หรอกเพื่อน
This is now, I think, the 6th angle VAR have looked at to try and determine whether Andre Ayew has controlled it with his hands. I mean, we did determine after the first angle, well, that's hit his hand. So why it's I'm baffled by the process here, to be honest.
I don't know why they keep showing the replays of they're checking whether it's hit the arm or not. It's clear it's hit the arm. I think what they should be checking is it's hit his chest. It's hit his chest down to his arm. Does the touch of the arm impact where the ball goes? It does in the end. So I'm not sure why they're still checking of the handball, and I think they are going to and the goal does stand, and it does come down to what I believe it's because it's the double touch that he's got away with it. However, the touch of the hand does impact where it goes, so the goal does stand. It is Crystal Palace 1, Tottenham 2, but a big moment.
It is a big moment, and we'll have an extended period of added on time, bearing in mind how long that VAR check took. I mean, James Maddison, I think
ที่จะตกลงได้ไม่ได้วันนี้โอ้โหกว่าจะได้สัก1 ประตูพาเลซกูเนี่ยจะหมดเวลาอยู่แล้ว
Why on earth that goal was counted? I think I'm with James Maddison. I don't think that goal should have counted as brilliant of a finish as it was from Jordan Ayew. There was a handball. It's clear to see that he's controlled that ball, intentionally or not, double deflection or not, with his hand. And now all of a sudden, the empty seats at Selhurst Park, the people that have left those empty seats, will probably be regretting that as Ahmada tries to bring the ball forward. But it's a good challenge from Pedro Porro. And there's a bit of urgency about Crystal Palace now as there's now 2 balls on the field.
เชี่ยตกลงได้ไม่ได้วันนี้อะไรวะ
James Maddison was off the pitch. I'm just waiting to see whether he has definitely been substituted or not. It wouldn't appear.
ให้ไปเถอะ
Although I'm waiting to see.
ได้เว้ย
From the back of the bench to complain to the fourth official.
Quite possibly, yes, because he has been substituted. Yes, he was brought off for Brian Hill. My mistake is Jordan Ayew looks to try and get at Pedro Porro once again. He gets on his right.
เอาเว้ยเพื่อน
He's brought down by the former Sporting.
เวลาที่เหลือสนุกละ
It will be a corner kick on the left-hand side for Crystal Palace, and it's a big opportunity. If Mateus Franca can whip in a ball similar to the first corner that he took, rather than the second corner, then it will be a huge moment. I mean, Sam Johnson has been sent up by the Eagles here. As Franca takes the corner quickly, plays it in towards the middle of the box. Vicario gets a touch on it, and it's just about cleared away by Tottenham. It's now a race between Nathaniel Klein and Heung-min Son as to who will get there first.
2-1 โหสเปอร์แม่งจะกินหมูแล้ว
having a fair bit more energy, and Palace will look to bring it forward with Ahmada. It's a brilliant switch onto the right-hand side for Raksaki, who couldn't get it under control first time.
มีลูกฮึดเว้ย
And then that's a poor challenge by Joaquin Anderson. And in the 98th minute, we see the first yellow card of the game. There's potential for some handbags to be thrown here, as a number of Tottenham players aren't happy with the challenge put on Brian Hill. Joel Ward's not happy with the challenge that was put on Raksaki, as we're going to see another extended pause in play. This game is going to comfortably go over 100 minutes. Despite the fact I wasn't really sure we're 8 minutes of added on time.
โอ้โหได้เตะมุมเว้ยได้เตะมุมเว้ยโอ้โหพาเลซกู
first yellow card of the game, and it goes to Joaquin Anderson. And you'd probably say as well, that's the latest the first yellow card has been dished out, as we're just going to see a replay of the challenges. It's a firm tackle from Emerson Royale. He wins the ball, and then that challenge from Joaquin Anderson. He's absolutely nowhere near a yellow card right decision. Terrible challenge on Brian Hill. I mean, yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing. He is just trying to kick him in support of his teammate, and he really.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a shocking challenge.
บุกไม้
I think there was another yellow card shown, and it was to a Tottenham player. It wasn't clear who it was. It hasn't been confirmed. It was brandished, and it was Brennan Johnson and Heung-min Son stood around the referee when he showed it. So I'm not sure who he's giving it to, but I'm so positive that he's giving a yellow card to a Tottenham player as well. He's almost listening to his earpiece at the moment. He says,
สวัสดีครับคุณพัทสวัสดีครับน้องพัทตื่นเหรอผมก็เพิ่งตื่นเหมือนกันหลับเหมือนกันผมก็หลับคาไลฟ์เหมือนกันพี่เนี่ยหลับอยู่อย่างเงี้ยหลับเหมือนกันครับเพิ่งตื่นได้ประมาณ10 กว่านาทีแล้ว
Who who says
20 นาที
I think he's about to pick up a yellow card because he's had a number of fouls, and indeed he is. So we went from no yellow cards in 98 minutes to now 3 inside 10 seconds. This is incredibly impressive play from Andy Madley, who I think has refereed this game quite well, but all of a sudden, as play starts to get a little bit tense, as Crystal Palace maybe potentially smell that they could get back into this game, it's getting feisty, and yellow cards are needed to have been brandished as the free kick is taken quickly by Tottenham. Romero goes back to Vicario. We're now 2 minutes over the allocated 8 minutes of added.
แต่น่าจะชนะล่ะสเปอร์
Obviously, we will have a fair bit more time to play. There was an offside given against Tottenham, against Brian Hill. Sam Johnson will be the one to take the free kick, as every Palace player is sent forward. Byron, the goalkeeper, obviously, who needs to take the free kickers. Spurs are holding a very high line. Johnson sends the ball long, looking for Anderson on the left-hand side, all on his own. Lays off to Jordan Ayew. Not a brilliant pass. He's squared up by Pape Matar, and the offside flag has gone up against Joachim Anderson. So it's incredibly disappointing for Crystal Palace. Roy Hodgson looks absolutely seething on the sideline. I'm not quite sure how Anderson was caught offside. I did wonder how he ended up on his own, and we're about to see why. Because he did step offside, and I think the Tottenham players knew it. I mean, Brendan Johnson had his hand up straight away, so it was relatively obvious. I mean, we're seeing pictures of Ange Postecoglou now. I think this will be the most disappointed he's been after a Tottenham Hotspur performance, but it looks like they're going to get the 3 points in this
เม
game.
ลี่ทำอะไรเนี่ยลูก
The free kick long, good header by Keeper, but now Benton Cole can pick the ball up in the middle of the park. Surrounded
แล้ว
by
ทำไมไอ้นี่มันไปอยู่อย่างนั้นล่ะ
find the ball through the gap to Pape Matar under pressure from
พัน
Ayew.
คออ่ะลูก
He'll go further back to
ต้นน่ะลูก
Mateta, just putting pressure on the Argentinian, forcing him all the way back inside the 18-yard box to Vicario. He'll then give it to Højbjerg, who goes back to
น้องนัดป่วยครับ
Palace, looking to just try and put pressure on the Tottenham backline, and it forces a mistake. Joel Ward can pick it up under pressure from
อื
Brian.
มว่าแล้วมันไม่เห็นหลายวัน
Joachim Anderson tries to play it into the middle of the park, but it's
หรอเป็นไรมากไหมอะครับ ป่วยเป็นไรมากไหม
It's inside the box. Mateus Franco goes for goal, and he slices it horribly wide on the left-hand side. James Maddison praying on the sidelines, thanking God that that didn't go in. I mean, what a chance that was for Mateus Franco to endear himself to the Crystal Palace fans in his home debut. It's a difficult chance nonetheless, but he potentially could have done better.
And Pedro Porro, well done to you. He's going to get a huge pat on the back, because even though he's not made the block, that covering defending to put off Franco coming across there is absolutely fantastic. Thomas game winning at times. Of course, he didn't make the block.
ยาวๆไหลยาวๆเพื่อน
An own goal from Joel Ward just after half-time sent Tottenham on their way before a brilliant flowing move finished off by Heung-min Son, gave Tottenham a 2-goal lead. A wonderful volley that was checked by a late VAR check.
อาจจะไม่ใช่นะ
Gave Crystal Palace hope.
ผมก็กินไม่เห็นป่วยเลย
In the end, there just wasn't
เอา
quite enough
เอา
time,
เอา
but not
เอา
quite enough quality.
ยิง โอ้โหคอนซา
Tottenham Hotspur 2, Crystal Palace 1.
โอ้โหเพื่อนมีจังหวะแล้วอะคอนซ่า โอ้ยเยอะยิงออกไปเองอีก เอาอ่านเพื่อนสเปอร์ทำได้ว่ะ โอ้โห โอ้โหป่วยขอให้ฝากบอกน้องนัดด้วยนะครับ ขอให้หายไวๆนะครับพี่ฝากบอกน้องนัดด้วยหายไวๆนะครับ ก็เกมจบแล้วสนุกมากพี่โอ้ยจะได้พาเลทดีแม่งมากๆนึกว่าจะตีเสมอได้ แม่งสเปอร์แม่งก็โหดชิบหายพี่สเปอร์ฉุดไม่อยู่แล้วครับเพื่อนๆตอนนี้สเปอร์ฉุดไม่อยู่แล้ว ก็นอนเนี่ยพี่พรุ่งนี้ตี 4แล้วนอนกันพักผ่อนเลยเดี๋ยวพรุ่งนี้เรามีบอลเยอะด้วยพรุ่งนี้เรามาดู3 ทุ่ม5 ทุ่มอะไรอย่างเงี้ยเรามีบอลค่อนข้างที่จะหลายคู่อยู่นะครับพี่เพื่อน3 ทุ่มก็พรุ่งนี้นะครับคู่แรกเราจะเป็นอาร์เซนอลกับเชฟฟิลด์นะครับเวลา3 ทุ่มพรุ่งนี้เจอกันนะครับ3 ทุ่มอาร์เซนอลกับเชฟฟิลด์นะครับแล้วก็5 ทุ่มครึ่งวูฟแฮมป์ตันกับนิวคาสเซิลนะครับก็2 คู่ยาวๆเลยโอ้ยแล้วเราก็มีไอ้นี่ด้วยนะเอลคลาสิโกนะครับบาร์เซโลนากับเรอัลมาดริดเดี๋ยวเราจะดูไป2 คู่พร้อมๆกันเลยเอลคลาสิโกก็ขอบคุณมากนะครับเพื่อนๆพี่ๆวันนี้นะครับที่ติดตามรับชมรับฟังนะครับแพ้น่ะดีแล้วพาเลทสเปอร์ชั่วโมงนี้หยุดไม่อยู่ใช่ใช่ใช่สเปอร์แม่งหยุดฉุดไม่อยู่จริงๆครับฟอร์มดีมากๆฟอร์มดีจริงๆคือเราต้องยอมรับเลยว่าแม่ง แม่งฟอร์มดีจัดเลยอะสเปอร์อะแม่งใครไปคิดนะว่าสเปอร์แม่งจะขนาดนี้ฮะพี่มันตกใจเลยแม่งขนาดนี้เลยวะเนี่ยสเปอร์เนี่ยก็นอนเนี่ยพี่วินเพื่อนสักกลินพี่น้องพัดแล้วก็พี่สักกลินนะครับเรานอนกันเดี๋ยวแล้วก็พี่ท่านอื่นด้วยครับที่ดูอยู่ก็ขอบคุณมากนะครับเพื่อนๆที่ติดตามรับชมรับฟังนะครับก่อนจากการฝากกดซับสไครต์ฝากกดติดตามด้วยนะครับกดกระดิ่งแจ้งเตือนไว้ด้วยนะครับพรุ่งนี้เราเจอกันคู่อาร์เซนอลนะครับเวลา3 ทุ่มวันนี้นะครับราตรีสวัสดิ์นะครับฝันดีครับบ๊ายบายเด้อ